Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, apologies for all of the technical issues. Hopefully, they're done. We don't really know what's going on, but hopefully they're all good, right? That's all we can hope for. And as Neokai, joined by Nara Mizuki, we're about to get underway. Back in towards map number 2 momentarily. So far, it's been so good. Map number 1, it was, well, I gotta say, I'm very impressed with Sui Generis.
Yeah, they had a really good resurgence in the second half, and we'd, I kind of spoke a little bit about the composition. I was a little concerned because they didn't have a Sova, and at the start of their defensive half, it did kind of feel like that was a little bit of a detriment to them. They didn't have all the information that they needed, but once they swapped sides, the utilization of the breach was actually very good to deny a lot of the information that was coming through and to create the space that they needed to get in onto the site. My big question is going to be, what are we going to see as we move in onto Split? Of course, one of those Holy Trinity maps, one of those maps where teams tend to go. If you want to go for something a little bit more straightforward than some of the more tactically advanced maps, let's call it like that. So I'm curious to see, of course, as we start with what our compositions are going to look like. And for the moment, only the 2 agents locked in. Those are the only ones I care about. And that's going to be Breach and Raze. And a pretty solid start, it has to be said. These are very good agents on Split. Breach hasn't had as much playtime. Teams tend to lean a lot more heavily into the Sky. But I quite like the Breach. I think that it can work really well if you leverage it right. And hopefully they can get some results with that.
Yeah, King Hash as well was floating the Fade there for a second. Now, not kind of the most common selection, but at the same time, we've seen recently with the likes of Polaris, for example, kind of how important, how good Fade can actually be. I mean, she is a stunning agent to select into, but now looking like the Neon going to be potential brought out by Swi's hovering that. The Viper 2 potentially could be where they're heading. Over towards the other side, they've already locked in, so it's all about waiting now to see kind of where Sui Generis head into themselves, and I think realistically they'll probably stick with that 5 you see up on your screen unless they go for any random changes towards the end, and there it is.
There's no way they were sticking with the Neon, man.
A little bit rogue, the Neon. The Fade, though, I do like. The newer agent, and I think she's got a lot of kind of upside to her.
Especially on a map like Split, so they kind of hovered over the Sova for a little while there, but of course you don't take Sova to Split. No. Not as impactful, doesn't get a lot of value out of his recon darts in a map like Split where there aren't a lot of ceilings and so on, and it does make it a bit more difficult to get that value. But Fade, on the other hand, her lineups are a little bit more akin to what you would see from a Phoenix. Now, those are the actual lineup, obviously the abilities. But that does mean that she gets a lot more utility out of a map like Split. And then, of course, they combo that with the Chamber, with the, I don't know why I'm looking at the picture of Cypher and saying Chamber. They combo that with him. He's historically been a really good Sentinel on this map. But there you go. You match that up against the Chamber, and that's where there's going to be a little bit of a power difference, because of course Chamber is incredibly strong right now. You mentioned a little bit when we went into Haven, he's so good at maintaining space, and obviously the fact that all of his abilities are guns makes him that much more powerful. I'll be curious to see how this map actually ends up going.
It's the big question. Well, we're finally underway towards map number 2. Going to be an elongated break, but it is done and dusted now. And get things started. Of course, it's Sui Generis starting on that defender side, on the attacking side. Wohnny Wepp, and they need that resurgence coming in towards map number 2. This is their last opportunity. This is kind of the be all and end all. Lose this one and there's no second chances. It's single elim, so they are done and dusted. Now though, this is slow. Bit of tempo in towards mid. Nothing to be spotted for the time being. In towards heaven. Posturing with the Trailblazer. Not too much to be spotted though. Q close and personal could cause a couple of issues. He's waiting. Paranoia might find a little bit of something. Will gonna go aggressive as he blasts back his way forward. Guarding Light will come in. And Q going nice and aggressive. Right King Classic. Finding one. Left for 2. Won't be able to deliver. And actually kills go in favour of Wohnny Wepp. Numbers. Now with very much in their hands. And very much so. It's all down to Cali. Cannot deliver. Wohnny Wepp with 3 remaining alive. Find that first round.
An important round for them to win as well. There was quite a lot of chaos up in Heaven, and we talk a lot about how the pistol round can be a little bit coin flippy, But a lot of that comes down to the power of the raise. You know, the first set of paint shells comes out. It gives the position away of Will. So we see the counter paint shells, which forces him to go aggressive. And you start to think, well, maybe that's going to work out badly. You know, they forced him to have to rotate in a time where he wasn't necessarily ready for it. But he manages to come out on top, stay alive, while the rest of his team get the trades up in heaven. Works out quite nicely for them. Now, what is interesting to note is I saw a little bit of forcing happening for Sui Generis. And what's interesting, obviously, about that is it's going to be a bit detrimental for their cash going into the next round if they don't come out on top of this one. Oh my god.
Ooh, that's a lamb. With the 2, bit of damage dealt, and actually, for the time being, unscathed. I mean, he's lost that map control, but he's against just pistol, so not really the end of the world for the time being. Of course, though, kind of go back in towards Suez. Back over towards this B site. Only 2 players there to meet them. If they just go aggressive here, they can play the numbers, play for the trades, play for the information. Shorty close first over the wall in the face. Dink will come through, but King has left out to 24 points of HP. They've got the site now. Slow Orb to come through. Swise will find one. Paranoia causing a couple of issues, and the Horn 2 could be even worse. Still yet to be able to get on towards the site securely. The bomb body over the wall as well could cause a couple of problems, especially if Zetchi wants to try and get that spike down. He'll just about to be able to do so. Trying to find something with the pistol. Cow, unable to deliver. SLM, 1 more. Swise 1 point HP will fall. It's a mop-up on site. It's a second round for Wohnny Wepp.
Now, this was a really, really good force for Wohnny Wepp. Now, they do lose 1 player, so that's obviously going to affect their bonus a little bit into this round, and we can see it does so. Relish, you have to spend a little bit into it, but not too much. I mean, their credits are still looking pretty healthy across the board. And you have to remember that a couple of their players were still on pistols in the previous round, so they've actually navigated this quite well. Now, I spoke about the possible detriment of the light forces we saw coming out of Sui Generis in the last round, and there it is. All of them are, well, not all, but most of them are on half armor, and you've got to believe that there's been a little bit of a hit taken to the util buy as well.
Oh, Cal for a double. Brilliant start for them. Yes, just a bonus essentially for Wohnny Wepp here, but that's the dream start. Of course, when you've got the firepower in your favor, going a little bit aggressive just gives them now the numbers advantage. They can play this quite nicely. As this smoke dissipates as well, Will needs to be ever so slightly cautious. An overextension could be so costly from him. Everybody to come forward. We'll give away the information. Cal holding and waiting as well. This is like a double swing. He's having that potential. In comes the flash, and now Cal just going to fall away. Doesn't want to overextend. Doesn't want to play that too much of an aggressive position. They can give up mid. They can give up wires. They can give up heaven too, because they know they're going to walk straight in towards the crosshairs, straight into the crossfires, and it should be all good. 50 seconds left to work with.
Still a lot of time, and they've tried to bait out quite a bit of util, which, as we mentioned, is pretty damn good, because the fact that Sui Generis came into this with a slightly less cash means that they probably won't have as much of that util available, so you kind of chip away at as much of that as possible. Problem, of course, being
30
down
seconds
to only
left.
3 players left. I mean, this is going to be really tough, and of course, this was their bonus, so they don't really have the firepower to back this up.
That's it. Already coming away with damage. The utility just keeping them at bay quite nicely. TP to come forward as well, and Q can sit close and personal from this angle. Surely he's going to get away with murder. There's the first number 2 jumping from illegal.
Spike down.
Going to find himself a trade at the very
10
least, but
seconds
Spike
left.
dropped. 1 versus 4. It's surely only going one way. Yes, 11. Can be dropped. Lovely stuff. First one on the board there. Sui Generis. And with the much fuller buy against that bonus, to only lose 1 is a real positive sign.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good. You try to keep it expensive if you're the bonusing team and you're not able to actually win out the round. But it's really great stuff from Sui Generis to still kind of, you know, keep alive and start to swing things back. Of course, bearing in mind they won both pistols on the previous map, so having lost the first pistol here, it's good that they were able to bounce back a little bit, get themselves that first point on the board, and still Wohnny Wepp's economy isn't great. They've still got 1 player on a judge, and on the attacking side, that can be a little bit of a detriment. You're not kind of hiding around a corner waiting for someone to swing into you. You've got to get proactive, and that's a bit rough with a shotgun.
That's it. Of course, now, what's the game plan for Wohnny Wepp? This is one in which they themselves, of course, have to convert. They no longer on a bonus, don't have that kind of, I guess, crutch to fall back on. Has to be around in their favour. Mission gain. Danny playing nice and aggressive. Trailblazer might want to try and spot him out. Not to be the case. Boobody's gone forward. Paranoia too as well. TV comes
Ooh,
in.
Daddy!
Oh, Zetchi. That's a bit aggressive for me. And he pays the price for exactly that. Overextends and he falls. My advantage now in favour of Sui Generis. And how do they want to play this? They've got the numbers. They've got the map control too. They're going to deny any presence over towards the site. They're more than happy to give up mid over towards Wohnny Wepp because they know they can't wrap on towards the site for the time being. Look for one more. Danny, quite smart. Information game, just going to fall away.
Honestly, huge props to Danny for maintaining composure. The paranoia hits him and he's still able to maintain calm, get that first kill, and doesn't die when he peeks out to get the info. So him still being alive here is a huge boon for the team. Wohnny Wepp's obviously down one player now, gonna have to go for a hard and fast push onto the A side or B side. Immediately lose a player.
That's it. Want a piece. Swipes. Danny want a piece though,
Spike
and that
down,
more or less
B.
confirms things. 1 versus 4. SLM needs something magical. With 10 seconds on the clock,
10
spike
seconds
drop,
left.
this one's done. Save it, brother. Keep hold of that Vandal, because there's nothing you can do to scrape the surface on towards that B-site hold. That's a stellar hold as well from Sui Generis. And now look where they found them. Tying this game right back up 2 apiece. And it started to flip the pressure. Once again, you look over towards kind of Wohnny Wepp, and they're going to be feeling the front a little bit. Now walking towards the top of the side, against Idle Square, and the economy starts to be a little bit, touchy. They need to be cautious.
Yeah, I think that this, we more or less expected that last round to end the way it did. I won't say, look, normally it's because it's a pistol round, but in this particular instance, you have one player who's chilling on a judge, it's not ideal, and then they go for the hyper-aggressive play. And at that point, you're realizing, the idea behind this execute isn't really where it needs to be. Now again, they're forced down onto a bit of an eco. They will pop the tour de force to have that little bit of extra firepower. And interestingly enough, going for that same aggressive smoke TP into the ropes room. Thankfully, no one there this time around to take him out.
Already now. Bit of early presence shown. It looked like there's potential to make that wrap coming through, but I don't really want to test King Haas for the time being. The B site is pretty locked down at the moment. They've got the utility ready as well, and a paranoia could be huge to give them an entry. But speaking of, there it is. Calv with the first. They haven't expected King Haas in that open position on towards heaven, and he could be in for a good one in towards rafters. It's going to be a tough clear. Swinging in. Looking at one, find it, and for 2.
Spike
will deliver.
down,
Can he find 3 yards? No retro trade, but he himself is dropped by Cal. It's down to 1 in a matter of moments. And for SLM, what do you do from this position? 1 versus 4. Tour de force popped as well, so at the very least, try and make this useful. Try and make this expensive, but this is going to be so tough to find anything here. He sees the spike with 30 seconds on the clock.
30 seconds
How's
left.
he even going to wrap through?
There was just so much util coming through there, and unfortunately just cannot maintain control. But we didn't really expect him to be able to. And again, hyper-aggression coming through the team has been a bit of an odd spot, and the util usage hasn't been as crisp as it really needs to be, not covering angles as well as they could be. And I think that, Sui Generis are doing a really good job at taking advantage of that. We also kind of spoke about how they had quite a resurgence towards the middle of the previous map, and I think they're really kind of running on a high here at the moment, with 3 ultimates online to back them. Wohnny Wepp, of course, have 2 of their own, but one of them is just Seekers, and we know how strong that can be, but the capitalization has to be big, and that's something they've been struggling with.
Already now. Swinging in, looking for something. SLM. Needs to be cautious. They have got a pretty good idea of where he's posted up. Will's got a bit of space, though. And now in towards heaven, he can make that wrap. We haven't really seen a formulated A-hit be made as of just yet. There's a lot of util used by Sui Generis to kind of deny this pressure, but the numbers are not looking favourable. In comes the Seekers, though. Now this could take a turn. Wohnny Wepp going to get a pretty good idea of where they're posted up. That rotation coming through as well. But Fade of the hands of Swine upon one of her own. Got the information, and that's brilliant. Already looking to find one more. Rolling Thunder going out to Danny, and what a piece of illegal. Nearly finding yet one more Swise. He's causing a couple of issues. Ball to come through as well, and this would allow them to get that spike down. He has tried to find a bit of a gap. Unable to do so. It's all down to Swise. Trading places, but Zetchi just about coming out on top. It's a 1 versus 4. And for Q, this would require something monumental. It's a freebie on towards SLM, but there's 3 more players to find. And I say these fights can be brutal. A smoke cut might be able to It's a little bit easier. They could have even been tempted to see that a cross comes through.
I thought that he was going to TP into his smoke, but he doesn't. He hears the fires going.
It is.
Ah, there you go. He heard the sound of the gunshots. He thought he could try and sneak his way in. But that, you know, that dark cover was so far back. It didn't really give him a chance. And I mean, I get it. You're trying to turn their attention away. But you're not really swinging out fast enough to get full impact out of one enemy position of the dark cover. And so by the time you actually swing out, they've all turned their attention back to where you were coming from, and there you go. You get completely taken down. And again, it's that capitalization. It's super, super important. Now, this was an important round for Wohnny Wepp to win, and they do so quite nicely using those Seekers to create a ton of that space up in heaven. And despite that Nightmare coming out, it doesn't actually get them much because, again, that lack of capitalization. Both teams seem to be struggling with that at the moment, but Swi's not struggling with that operator, it seems.
Strong, buddy.
You know, for the time being, I mean, causing a couple of issues. Swi's will fall away. He's quite happy with the opener. Numbers in their favour, nearly making it 2 as well. Relish saying hello, and he gets greeted with a bullet to the head. Ocuk, no trigger. Discipline, 1 look for 2. Find it. Spike down, surely. Round done a dusted. Zetchi down to 8 points of HP. Tagged down by Swi's, and this one should be a confirmed round. He's at 2 versus 5 now. Zetchi, even staying alive is going to be a big ask for him. Going up to work for. Showstopper will come out, spotting him out. Doesn't find the kill, in fact. It's a 1 apiece, though. Zetchi looks straight in towards Q, just toying with his food there as well. It's a 4th on the board for Sui Generis as they take a lead here in map number 2.
It's a bit unfortunate, I think, for Wohnny Wepp. You know, they win that 1 round and you think, all right, maybe they can start to claw their way back into it. But they're just immediately denied here. And, of course, taking the Sage off the board is an important opening kill there. And flank man, you've got to have someone on flank check.
Enemy
Even if
remaining.
you don't necessarily expect the team to be flanking, just expect it, right? Have someone that's looking, even if you're not sending them necessarily on a wild flanking mission, but have them checking those angles just to make sure no one is coming up behind you. Now they're forced back down onto, like, the SMGs. It's not ideal. They've got Rays, but there's no way they pop that here. They're going to have to just kind of get through this round, get into the next, and hopefully start to bring it back.
This is a much better hit. I mean, over towards A, they found a lot of space. And that spike should be able to go down momentarily. It's going through that 5-on-5 retake. Will make that a 5-on-4 as SLM falls. And the neural theft is going to give away the ruse too. This now becomes very dicey as they try to lock things out as best as they can. Swi's and Cal's go 1 apiece. And already things are starting to play quite nicely towards their hand. Flying above. Danny five right into a free kill. Relish was bamboozled like a deer in headlights as something flew in his face. And that's a 5th on the board for Sui Generis against the low buy of Wohnny Wepp. Making a flawless 5th on the board.
I mean, it was a good hit, like you said, but it was an even better... it was a retake. Yeah, they did actually get the spike down. I mean, it very rarely happens that they do manage to get the spike down, but they were able to do so in that round. And Sui Generis, I mean, they give up the space because they know that they have the advantage coming into that round. They know that they don't have to be too hyper aggressive. They get that kill, they drop the neural theft, it gives them all the information that they need, and then they just mount a really, really strong retake, covering in all the angles that they require and making sure that no one's going to be kind of peeking out where they're unexpected.
Will is met with a whole lot of utility out towards A. They're still trying to test these waters. Spam coming through from Q as well. Needs to be careful not to be caught. For the time being, he's going to hold on the 4, try and buy some time for a rotation to come through. But again, I think it's safe to say that this A site for Sui Generis is the slight weakness. That's where there's been consistent success for a spike round at the very least. Looking for something. Tapping away. SLM. Testing those waters, but Zetchi for the first. Q will fall and Order the Omen off the cards. Retake trying to find a bit of a backbone to it. Fake TP coming in as well as Zetchi is sitting close to Purcell on the heaven. Will for a double two. SLM will be traded, but Relish finds Danny. Now this more or less might confirm things. Swi's all alone in a 1 versus 4 with an operator, and I think, Sam, that this one might be going the way of Wohnny Wepp. He's fallen away. That's a 4th on the board.
Yeah, that A site seems to be the easiest to crack into, and the important thing is how well the retake comes through. Now, in the previous round, obviously, they had the neural theft. That gives them a ton of information. But when they don't have the neural theft available, they're working on the Fade. And the Fade can get a ton of info. That's what she's here for. She effectively she's not a replacement, but she's in the similar line as Sova. So that's her job. That's what she's meant to be doing. And it seems like they're not able to effectively use that. And of course, you have to remember that Swice has to rotate all the way over from the B site. So in that time, they're able to set up whatever post-plant defenses they're going to need for themselves. I'll be curious to see how they run out this round, because as you said, that A site seems to be where they're strongest, but they're kind of posturing towards B here. Maybe they'll go for I was going to say maybe a fake, but nah.
No, Swice has shot opens things up. The rest to come through, though. So, the entirety of this round played at a 5 versus 5 for the time being. Opening kill is, well, nullified. More or less immediately. Back over towards him. Looking to try and find a bit of hope. This has worked before. They've made this work before, so it's not the end of the world. But in comes that utility. Already things starting to look a little bit uncomfortable. As this B, there's a mid-hold, may I say. There's mid-take that they've tried time and time again. It's been shut down time and time again. And with a minute left on the clock, those seconds are burning. Q, just jiggle peeking. Not going to give up too much of a ruse. Paranoia will come through, and he'll respond with one of his own as well. That denies a bit of pressure. In comes the paint canisters as well, just to give them that mid-control. And up towards heaven if they want to make a split. But Cal, nice and aggressive. Could be in for a flank. One, good for two. Doesn't quite find it. Head on a swivel with Zetchi. In for the trade. Just the ball, keeping those numbers level. One more. Showstopper.
Oh my god.
Not working. He's going to find one of his own. Stunning stuff. He unfortunately hit his, but it does not matter either way. It's 6 on the board. They guarantee, at the very least, they'll be on level standing, may I say, at the midway point. But the way things are playing, they can take a lead.
It really felt like Wohnny Wepp kind of hit a panic when they got into heaven there. So they lose their first player, they rest him up. Now here, this is where they suddenly start to fall apart a little bit. They go right into heaven. They don't really check into the smoke. I mean, they're not expecting somebody to just arbitrarily be pushing out of the smoke. But they just get mowed down by like 1 or 2 people. It feels like they're just not in control of those angles, and that's one of the reasons why A tended to be their better side. But with this Swise on operator, I mean, he's just making their life hell.
It's been a genius of it as well. He's so good at finding that kill, falling away. Doesn't overextend, doesn't get overconfident. I love it. Zetchi, however, looking for a flank, looking for a lurk, but also away. You can see them looking back towards him, swinging in, good for the first. Then from behind. Nice straight. Oh, so easy, and illegal will fall too. It's all down to just one. They know exactly where Relic is playing from. And he has no idea where he even is. It's King Haas with 3k. That's Sui Generis. They guarantee themselves a lead at the very least, heading in towards that second half with a 7th on the board.
We got 1 round left in this half.
Round before the
and
sprint.
the economy is going to be the most important question mark here, I think. Because obviously, Sui Generis come into this flush. They have everything that they need at their fingertips. But if I'm not mistaken, Wohnny Wepp are going to have to force, obviously. But it's not going to be ideal. Oh, that's bad. That is very rough.
That noise sums up how this round probably will be.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, there's a stinger. Oh, man, you know it's dire straits when the stinger comes out, man.
Stinger's made me concerned, to the least. Already Swice going for a pop shot. I'm going to find too much. Prowler will come out. The Trailblazer in response. Nice and aggro in terms of utility. And that's the priority for Wohnny Wepp in this round, to try and find something with a very limited buy. Jiggly around the corner. Pop shot won't find too much.
Grenade!
Already quite concerned for Wohnny Wepp. This could be an 8th at the half for Sui Generis, which is already quite a notable lead. He's actually holding for the flank. He's holding to try and catch someone in rotation. For the time being, he won't be tested. They don't need to test him, realistically speaking. He should be sitting there.
Oh my god, what are you doing?
Really find too much. Oh, Q, hello. Look for something. Won't quite find it. Overextends. Pays the price. And that's an upgraded weapon. Phantom now in towards the hands of relatively fine. The answer is nothing. A Swice deletes him from raid so easily. Off the back of that kill, they're gone.
Alright, good start to the round here.
Nice, Danny. But for 2. Oh, he's got the information though. And now they surely know that this is definitely going to be that A hit coming forward. Heaven is vulnerable. That's the big problem. One towards the Danny go nice and aggro. Cal gonna find one more. Did you get a close position? Is the answer. Yes, is the... Well, the answer, may I say, it's illegal all down to now a 1 versus 2. He's taking significant damage and he will fall at the half. 8-4 is where we stand. Swires to finish things off, as it's, I've got to say, Sam, a very decent lead.
Yeah, I mean, So Sui starts off a lot of these rounds with some great op shots. He finishes that round with another great op shot. Yeah, I mean, this was a nice adaptation.
Seconds left.
Playing this a little bit more passive.
One enemy
trying
remaining.
to take a little bit of map control and then pivot into that. But unfortunately, we knew that they were at a serious economic disadvantage. And because of that, as much as they had a good idea that could possibly have worked out a lot better, especially with that opening kill over in Garage, unfortunately, it doesn't work out. They don't have anything to back it up. No ultimates, no real gunpowder. It's too difficult. So now at an 8-4 half here for Sui Generis. Now we're bearing in mind, of course, Sui Generis, they didn't win the pistol round in the first half, but we'll see if they can win the pistol round in the second.
It may be a little bit easier. Now they're on the attacking side, they can dictate the tempo, dictate the pace a little bit. Might work in towards their hand. For the time being, Danny, a bit of information and a bit of space over towards heaven. The wrap through wires. I mean, look at what he can find here. Potentially one. There it is. Relish your fall. That's a nice kill. The second one, expect it. Illegal finds a dink. Where's the frenzy that comes out on top? Shorty sitting close. Wohnny finds it as well. Brilliant. At the very least, but it makes nothing, realistically speaking, because it's a 4 versus 2 and no one's on the A side to greet them. Spike to go down. Post bomb to be set up. Wohnny Wepp in a 2 versus 4. This one's going to be very difficult to try and find. Paycast has gone forward, unlike what Swise is doing. He's playing Knight and aggro. At this sort of range, he might be at the very least to find a little bit of damage. The question is, can he? SLM. Spots in behind. Q gets it closer. Personal. Destroyed. Head on to come down for a second as well. No way. More damage dealt, but he's only got 17 points of HP. King Haas going to fall away. Just about making it 2. This is tough. 1 versus 2. He's flying through the air, and it's Swise to delete him. Knight on the board. And Sui Generis getting very close to making this a 2-0.
I mean, the attempt at a comeback there was so devastatingly close. And I think the most depressing part of that is we talk about how important it is to keep rounds expensive, but on the very first pistol round of the half, it makes 0 difference whatsoever. Because, of course, Sui Generis are still going to be able to force up into this round. They've handed Swise a bulldog, and I really enjoyed watching Swise. We talk about how much we enjoy the Fade gameplay, and he's playing it really, really well. Hopefully he can kind of keep that up, not just in this game, but obviously going forward in the tournament.
That's it. Now, towards main, Danny, bit of space. Hang on a second, he might get a bit of timing. No way. I mean, Cowsley spots that, but did they even expect Danny? Danny's already switched way around. Sure, he gets ready here. There it is. SLM1. Danny, though, one of his own.
Satchel out.
Well, that's gone forward as well. This traded places will. In behind now with a shorty could cause some issues. We see the shorty find damage, but it's only damage. Danny, head on a swivel, finds the trade. Fake cannons deny the presence. This B side,
oh my god, really?
On the lock, but it's illegal into the front side. He's able to find a double. Southfield coming forward. More damage dealt, but Danny only limited to 3 kills. 1 versus 2, and King Haas now in the 1 versus 1 has to go huge. Tripwide to come forward as well. Can deny a bit of pressure, and of course secure a couple of angles. Get a pretty decent idea of where he's expecting them to come forward from. 40 seconds to work with. He's going to make that jump as well. I think he spotted him too.
Yeah.
Did. Straight through. Zetchi. Oh, got the spike. King Haas, you are one lucky individual. That is safe to say. Zetchi's unfortunate. But that was made very expensive. 10-4 is where we stand currently, but it went down to 1-1.
That was a very, very strange round, riddled with crazy... Look at this. How does illegal not get checked? That is one of the most...
One enemy remaining.
To hold. And no one even looks until it's too late, and then he gets 2 kills. I mean, it really is illegal. And King Haas here, like you said, pulls out that spike. How he manages to survive, I'll never quite understand. But I felt like luck was really on Sui Generis' side in that one, because for both of those things to happen, and for them to still win the round, some call it luck, some call it skill, some call it just build diff, which is more or less what Sui Generis means. Just fun fact.
Is that what I mean? Just build diff.
Just about. It's not exactly the same, but it boils down to
more or less. Yeah. No, I gotta respect that. I really do. So far, I mean, they're living up to the name. It's 10-4. They got a 6-round lead. Into this round, though, slightly less firepower. I mean, it technically is a bonus round, but it was made so expensive previously. And there's the question about how you want to play the investment here. And so far, not too much. Now, of course, Danny. holding, waiting. Will he find anything? Smoking his face well might deny a little bit of presence. It's all to play for the time being. It's so slow, methodical, 45 seconds. But as this smoke dissipates, that might be the first engagement. Danny for the first as well. Illegal will fall. That's important. Willing towards backside. Staying alive. Good for one as well. Can he make it two? The answer is yes. And a transfer on towards the third as well. Will, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Spray transfer is stunning. And it gives Wohnny Wepp their fifth.
And this is what they needed. Slightly slower play. Wait for Sui Generis to push in. And then take control once they've done that. Hold on to some of that util if you can. A little bit of space.
Enemy remaining.
Take it back. And then, of course, you need like an
down,
absolutely
B.
ridiculous Will spray transfer. If he doesn't get that spray transfer, I don't know if they win the game. Or the round, rather. So, yeah, you know what? A little bit of luck, a little bit of skill comes together, and it works out quite nicely. The problem is, they have to be able to replicate it. And at a 10-5 scoreline, with Sui Generis already in double digits, it's looking a bit rough here for the Wohnny Weppers. I keep calling them that, but it just sounds better than just Wohnny Wepp, in my opinion. They've got Tour de Force available, though, so there's quite a bit of firepower. But Will is off the board. The neural theft is up. Oh, we've seen this before.
Bring them down.
Neural theft as well on board. Pilots on board as well. Get a bit of space towards that of heaven. Swi's unfortunate to find a kill, to be perfectly honest. Showstopper out. But he's shut down in mid-air. SLM, one. Dinked as well at the 40. Swinging in from main makes it all the more unfortunate for them. What can they find is the question at the moment. It's Q and Cal, one apiece. Swi's in towards bracket as well. Then has a lot of that pressure. And a 2 versus 4. I mean, Wohnny Wepp trying to find any space and any room to work with is going to be even that a tough ask. In towards heaven, they need to be cautious of the flank as well. They were being tested, but the spike will make the run all the way over towards the B site. Baron, for the time being. And once his post-spawn is set up, this should be more or less pretty comfortable.
This is a full save. I mean,
Seconds
there's
left.
no way. I mean, yeah, Wohnny Wepp just going to pull straight back. Hold on to the two weapons that they have available to them right now. Be curious to see if either of them have... Oh, they've been spotted out. That's a bit unfortunate. Let's see. Any armor? Yeah, you got full armor there. Yeah, that makes sense. So at least you got that going for you into the next round as well. And this makes the most economic sense, I think. It's a bit unfortunate, though. Also, the overlay is wrong. Sui Generis have not won 2 maps. It has only been one.
just one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking like they might win the second if things carry on the way they are being so far. They're up to 11, only 2 away from the elusive 13. Things are looking pretty good. And yeah, I like the call to hunt. I'm a fan of it so far. I mean, give it a go. They know they've got the numbers to spare as well. Try and deny anything being saved across by Wohnny Wepp, and that would make everything all the more uncomfortable for them. Not much further they will extend, though. As we mentioned, that Sui Generis up to 11.
Yeah, unfortunate there that, well, for Sui Generis anyway, that they couldn't find any of those last few players. So this is exactly what Wohnny Wepp needed to be able to keep hold of 2 of those weapons. I mean, we sometimes talk about how, well, they would have been able to buy up into the next round anyway, and sure, that's a valid point, but if you want to try and build up some sort of an economic buffer, you want to maintain as many credits as you possibly can. And, I mean, looking at this now, it's not great. They do have Tour de Force at the very least, so that's going to bring things up a bit. But at the end of this round, they're going to be in a bit of a rough spot. And oh no, there you go. That's the first player down on the defense. A bit of unfettered aggression going very heavily punished.
That's it. Bring it in. Q. Give the first. Sechi overextends. Pays the price for it. Swi's laboured spray gets punished by Relish, and he'll actually be able to just fall away. Keeping the numbers at the very least doable for Wohnny Wepp. Yes, they're at a disadvantage, but a 4 versus 3, that is something they can work with. Hash jumps on the cam, looks around, doesn't spot too much. They're making that rotation over towards the A site, and that's the right call. No one's here.
Nice little bit of a double back. I love a bit of a fake and bait play. The problem is very often you take too long. Of course, you have to take your time. You cannot just go half-cocked onto the site and, you know, you don't actually know what's going to be happening there. But they do use that TP, gather the information, know that the site's clear, get that spike down. Question is, post-plant.
Post-plant is that...
Blinded.
the real question, isn't it? Reta's trying to find something. Relish Guarding Light comes through, but he himself can cast, so unable to find too much for the time being. Cast as well, playing nice and aggressive. His tripwire has been destroyed though, so he's got a good idea of kind of where they're coming from, which is why he's looking over towards ramp. Gonna target as well. He knows that's where the rotation's coming from. Relish will swing in. Won't be able to find it. Remains alive. Staying alive as well. Traded out by Illegal, but he's only stopped at 1. It's a 12th on the board for Sui Generis. They're now 1 round away from the map and the series.
It's been a long day for these boys, and they still have one more best of 3 ahead of them, assuming they can clutch this one out. Of course, Wohnny Wepp gonna try and make that one a little bit more difficult. Gonna be trying to take us to that third map. Bearing in mind, this is Wohnny Wepp's map pick. I had to go back and double check that because I was expecting a little bit of a better, stronger perhaps performance from them, and unfortunately they've just looked a little lost when compared to Sui Generis. Now it feels like, oh, Sui Generis just want this over. Look at that.
Nice entry. Danny for the first. Relish find one of his own though. King Castle fall in the lurk, but even still, I'm concerned already. This one might be done. Cow one more. Relish for the 4. Flashing towards the corner 2. They might be able to get 1. Looking for the second. Well, tapping away. Won't be able to deliver. Danny will trade though. And it's down to a 1 versus 3. SLM. Everything to do. Something magical. And there's the first step. What more can he find in a 1 versus 2? And does he expect the post barn to be a double stacking towards heaven too? SLM. It's way in. Spike is down. He's giving away the ruse. Know exactly where he is. He has no idea where they are. Spike planted for them too. Makes it all the more uncomfortable. And as they hold and wait, surely this only goes one way. The GGs are in here. And the Spike is so far ticked, as Q will clean things up. It's 13-5. A 2-0 series for Sui Generis. I mean, what a performance. Both maps, they were stunning.
Yeah, map 1 looked a little bit shaky at the start, but they managed to rally themselves a little bit. They come into map 2, and what a strong performance on what wasn't even their map pick. I had them as, you know, one of those strong contender teams in this tournament, and they really have been living up to that thus far. We're only in the second game of a very long 2 days for these two, well, for all of these teams, but they've made it thus far. They're heading in onto the next round. Let me just check, see who they're going to be playing up against next, if we do actually have that information. They're going to be playing up against Nuffen. So we'll see if they can continue along with that strength there. That sounds like a German team, and we know how strong they can be.
Exactly that. We'll take a look at the replays as well from the game we've just saw. It was a really nice performance. A good start as well. But unfortunately, the ending, not exactly what they were looking for as it was. A really nice resurgence from Sui Generis. They did take the pistol, but all of the full buys seemed to go in their favor, and they were at a very decent control when it came to kind of the mid to late round sections. One thing to mention as well is that the momentum consistently stayed in their favor, and that, I think, was the biggest kind of winning point for them.
Yeah, it's super important that you're able to maintain control once you have it. And this was one of the things that they were really good at. You know, I spoke about being able to kind of capitalize on some of the utility that you've used. And this was a little bit of a struggle for both of these two teams at times. But for Sui Generis, it kind of felt a little bit more like the exception than the norm. There were a few rounds where we did see some really strange mistakes coming through from them. But the important thing was how well they were able to bounce back from it. I mean, a really great example was that round. They don't check the back of the site. Somehow 2 of their players wind up dying to illegal. You know, small things. Pulling out the spike just as you're about to, you know, you're engaged in a 1v1 and you accidentally pull out the spike and somehow managing to survive. Being able to stabilize, being able to get back into the game when things have started to go wobbly. That's probably one of the most important things the team needs to be able to do.
Yeah, agreed. And of course, that is done for game number 1. We take a look at the stats as well at the end of that. It was a really good performance. There was a couple of kind of individuals we highlighted throughout that game for Sui Generis, but it have to be this man. I mean, Swise, what a performance. 17 kills, 13 deaths, 5 assists, 61 econ. A really, really solid performance from him, generally speaking. And not just the map as well, but the series overall.
Yeah, I mean, he really performed quite well on Haven, but when we came in onto Split, that's really where he started to shine on that fade, looking absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to see more of it.
Yeah, I like the fade pick as well, and I thought, of course, when he had an operator in his hand, he was very good at creating a lot of space, finding those opening kills, which just gave him a distinct advantage. I'm very much impressed with how they're playing. You know, this is a team you have to keep an eye on going forward to the rest of this tournament. There's a reason why we started with them as the opening game here for this VRC, for good reason. They're a team who potentially could go the full distance, but of course, it's still a long road there, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're only game 2 of day 1. We've got one more game today. Then there's still 2 more games tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow will be the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the grand finals. So still a lot to do, still a lot to get done. But if you can win in the next game, you're in the quarterfinals. And that in itself is pretty much a pretty solid achievement.
Yeah, and, you know, it's all about those points. That's what we're looking for. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to prepare ourselves for game number 2. When we are back, we'll delve into the details, but for now, we're going to throw this one to a quick break. Sit tight, grab a drink, grab something to do.
Let her go. Don't you know I'm about to adore you? I'm gonna make the time move slower. We can do whatever your sun's out. Make the clouds move over. We can do whatever, yeah. I'm gonna make the time move slower. We can do whatever, yeah. Sun's out, make the clouds move over. We can do whatever.
Oh, I got lost on the way to you in an orange sky by the ocean blue. Every mile lost, my soul renewed, taken by the sunrise and the golden view. Walking slowly in the mountains underneath the constellations. Yeah, I know that you've been waiting for me. Time is losing all its meaning, like I'm living in a dream, and I've been chasing all the feelings I need. It's in these moments with words unspoken, my eyes
the crosses.
feels heavy on your chest. I wish I could carry the weight all on my back. Colors now faded. There's only so much hoping that I can do, but I'd rather lose than lose you. Do what you gotta do, what you gotta do to be you. I gotta do what you gotta do, what you gotta do to put your heart to rest. I'll keep waiting as long as it takes. Do what you gotta do, what you gotta do to be you again. Oh, I never thought I'd feel this way. I never thought I'd find a place that feels like home. Feels like home. All the lights I see will stay. All I feel is love. It feels like home. Take me to a new dimension.
right, I'm scared to death. Scared of your eyes looking into my eyes. Scared that I'll back out and hold my breath. Wake up one morning and see your face, I can feel it coming back. These shivers are every day. Whoa, I say it's over, I get out of bed and leave. Yeah, just like that. I got the shivers whenever I would think about you. Now that I left, I live without you. I'm on my own again. I got the shivers whenever you went out of line, yeah. Now it's like everything is fine, yeah. 'Cause now I'm alone again.
calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty.
I'm all the sins that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. Part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never. Got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house. Then you kissed me in the backseat of a taxi ride. And we said things that were cheesy, but we meant them. There were feelings, and now you deny it. You're in love with the idea of me, but you're not in my reality. Find it hard to even picture it, 'cause my reality is your reality, no. The sins that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never. Got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house. Then you kissed me in the backseat of a taxi ride. And we said things that were cheesy, but we meant them. There were feelings, and now you deny it. You're in love with the idea of me, but you're not in my reality. Find it hard to even picture it, 'cause my reality is your reality, no. And she knows that I gotta be translated to that love.
Sitting lonely in my room again, trying to find the words to say, but nothing comes out. I am looking for the better days, seem like they just stay away whenever I try. There's so many things that I keep in my mind. My friends keep me out and it hurts every time. With all the emotions I built up inside, oh why can't I? Will someone look for me if I disappear? No matter how much that I scream, nobody hears. But I see the light from far away, it's down the line. Maybe I should not give up without a fight, 'cause there will be a time. Oh, 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 oh. There will be a time. Oh, 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 oh. There will be a time. Sitting lonely in my room again, acting like I'm innocent. Why do I try? 'Cause now I'm feeling like a fool again, thinking I can fool myself by telling me lies. When there's so many things that I keep in my mind, I hang around people I don't even like. If if they can be happy and walk with a smile, oh why can't I? Will someone look for me if I disappear? No matter how much that I scream, nobody hears. But I see the light from far away, it's down the line. Maybe I should not give up without a fight, 'cause there will be a time. Oh, 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 oh. There will be a time. Oh, 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 oh. There will be a time. Will someone look for me if I disappear? No matter how much that I scream, nobody hears. But I see the light from far away, it's down the line. Maybe I should not give up without a fight, 'cause there will be a time. I would never wait for something to let it go to waste, with everything at stake. Not that I would take it all back, I just wanna make this thing last. But we're running out of time. We were doing alright, holding on, but I'm losing the fight. Could we run away? I know if we just hit ground, running, closing off all the world with no light coming in.
slow-mo in a weightless motion. She called me crazy and I'm wasting time. Easy, don't leave me now. Yeah, for the sky and all its diamonds. I'm gonna make the time move slower. We can do whatever, yeah, sun's out. Make the clouds move over. We can do whatever, yeah. I'm gonna make the time move slower. We can do whatever, yeah, sun's out. Make the clouds move over. We can do whatever. We can do whatever, yeah. Do whatever, yeah. Yeah, do whatever, yeah. Do
Oh, I got lost on the way to you in an orange sky by the ocean blue. Every mile lost, my soul renewed, taken by the sunrise and the golden view. Walking slowly in the mountains underneath the constellations. Yeah, I know that you've been waiting for me. Time is losing all its meaning, like I'm living in a dream, and I've been chasing all the feelings I need. It's in these moments with words unspoken, my eyes wide open, life tastes so sweet. It's in these moments where all I know is coming into focus, and now I see. It's in these moments. It's in these moments. Oh, I know that you've been waiting. It's in these moments. Oh, I got lost on a winding road in the dark of night with the stars aglow. Heaven's up above, got me below as I head to you like the river flows. Walking slowly in the mountains underneath the constellations. Yeah, I know that you've been waiting for me. Time is losing all its meaning, like I'm living in a dream, and I've been chasing all the feelings I need. It's in these moments with words unspoken, my eyes wide open, life tastes so sweet. It's in these moments where all I know is coming into focus, and now I see. It's in these moments. It's in these moments. It's in these moments. It's in these moments.
Hello, overclockers.
Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Beacon event. The first one as well, hosted by the Goose House. Now, game number 1 is done. It was a nice, lovely little 2-0 by Sui Generis. And now we focus our attention towards game number 2. Of course, we're moving further into the bracket. It's best of 3, single elim, no room for error. And these two sides coming in so far unbeaten. But this one is going to be good. They've just come off the back of a grueling kind of a long best of 3. And now they're going to play again. It's all about that consistency, Sam.
Yeah, and you talk about coming off the back of a grueling best of 3, and then both of them come off of 3-map series. And if you go further back into their first game of the day, Gladius had a 3-map series there as well. Temperate was a 2-map, but that's a lot of maps played over the course of the last few hours. They've just finished about 10 minutes ago, their most recent game, and now we're back in it again. Nose to the ground, as they say, the grind never stops. And like you said, it's do or die at this point. So we have Temperate, we have Gladius, Gladius Valorant, and they've made it this far. They're looking to secure themselves that spot in the quarterfinals. It's going to be no easy task.
No, not at all. It's Gladius, of course, taking on a Temperate. You mentioned about their runs kind of getting forward to where we are right now. And you look towards Gladius, for example, they've played 2 games thus far, which have both been 2-1, right? So they've played 6 maps already. A long old day for them. For Temperate, of course, only just a 5 of a 2-0 to kickstart things with Please Fracture, and good team there. One that I support entirely. But yeah, now they go in towards their next set of a best of 3. And of course, if this one goes the same way as it has been for Gladius, they can have 9 maps already today, which is a long old day of Valorant. But you know, as you said, you gotta do, you gotta grind to get what you love, and it's all about these points. We'll take a look at Gladius as well to kickstart things coming in towards this one. The team ahead of Pello, Mike, Halsey, Calm, and Mercedes Peak. And I'm a big fan of that last one too.
Oh, honestly, Mercedes peak, Ferrari peak, Bugatti peak, any kind of a fast and hard peak, as long as you got a frenzy in your hands, I'm totally in. I will say that like a lot of these names are very familiar. They've been around the scene, and most of these players have competed in a lot of tournaments over the last year or so. We've seen them in some of the VCT qualifiers, the UK and I skirmish qualifiers. They've been around the block for a little while, much like some of our other teams here, not quite cracking into the big leagues, probably realizing maybe they're not quite VCT ready. But that is, again, the beauty of these tournaments, because it gives them the chance to get that practice in.
That's it. We'll take a look at their opponent as well, Temperate, who is a name which might have a few more familiar names. I think Dutchy, Stokesy in particular are kind of two who have been around for quite a while as well, supported by Josh Stempy and Shifty. This side is pretty decent. I saw them as well at Insomnia, if I'm right in saying, I-68, and they performed very, very well. I'm right in saying they got all the way to the final where they lost to Malik. So, you know, they're a side who, in the UK scene specifically, they've proved themselves to be fairly decent.
Well, this is the UK and the Nordics, so there's that little bit of extra competition that they're going to have to come up against. But to have already done so well on your home turf, in your home ground, that already speaks volumes. And of course, they have made it to this point, the round of 16, looking to get into, as I said, the round of 8, the quarter final. So a lot to play for here for both of these teams, and a little bit to prove, I suppose, because both of these two teams have players that have been around for quite some time, but have never really had a chance to get into the big league. So this could be the step up that they need.
Yeah, exactly that. And now, of course, when we look towards kind of where we want to go in towards this next series, with the way things are kind of at the moment, you'd kind of be surprised to see those maps like Fracture coming through. I think it's one of those ones that we can generally, for the most part, expect to be a kind of a ban coming in. It's not a map in which so many teams prefer to play for, and I'm right in saying, at the top level in this scene, of course, with Polaris, I think it is the least played map, as you'd sort of expect coming through. You spoke about that Holy Trinity as well. When we look towards this veto, do you think we're going to go to the same case? You know, the standard maps coming in?
It's very likely we'll see some iteration of that again. Whether we see, I would expect a minimum of 2 of them to come through there, but I'm hoping for a couple of curveballs here and there again. You know, yeah, Fracture, not likely in the least. The Haven we saw, and again, we kind of spoke about how you can just do, you know, think about B as an extended mid, and then it's a slightly more straightforward map. Split has a lot that you can, you know, can be quite straightforward as well. Yeah, you got to kind of juggle the ropes a little bit, but it's not too terribly out there. And as we said, Bind, part of that Holy Trinity as well, because while it has the TPs don't get used that often. I mean, reasonably often, but if they just got rid of the TP in mid and put in a corridor, you know, you'd probably be using it at just the same amount of time. So another map that is pretty straightforward that I think a lot of teams might just lean into. I'd be keen to see something like an Icebox. You know, that was our map 3 in the previous series. We didn't really get a chance to get to it. Breeze as well. I love that map. I love casting that map. I love seeing the compositions that come out of that map. So hopefully we get 1 or 2 curveballs in it.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the veto as well. There's potential as well for a Breeze to come in. I don't think it's the weirdest map for these two sides, especially with Haven and Fraction out of the pool. Breeze is a potential pick that could come in, right? It definitely could see it. You mentioned a couple of others, like your likes of your Haven, your Ascent, your Bind. I wouldn't be too surprised if you see any of them coming through. And actually, we see the Breeze and the Bind. So kickstarting things with Breeze, then followed by Bind. The question is, do we get the Icebox as a decider? Next round of bans will decide things, but I think the Breeze Bind is not too bad. Icebox fortunately gets banned by Temperate at the end there. But of course, I think starting things off with Breeze, quite interesting. New map for us on the stream as well. Followed up by Bind as well. You love to see it. And of course, if we get there, our decider will be Ascent. Sam, what's your thoughts?
Well, there you go. There's 2 out of the 3 Holy Trinity there. Ascent and Bind. I'm looking forward to it again. Bind and Ascent can be relatively straightforward, but Breeze is the curveball that I was hoping for. This is one of those maps where very often you'll see teams running that chamber jet, locking down those long angles with either the Twitter Force or the Operator, or both, depending on how the rounds are going, how the economy is shaping up. We often see the Sky coming out, the Cypher has had a chance to sneak his way in, but he's been a little bit replaced by the Chamber. The thing that I'm really hoping to see is a little bit of that fade, and I'll be curious to see if it does actually come out, because I think that Sova has a lot of strength in this map because of how far his arrows can reach. And I think maybe he'll outclass the fade a little bit. I'm a little biased. I'd like to see the fade, but maybe the smarter option is to lean into the Sova a little bit.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd be very surprised if we don't see the Sova come through. I love Fade. I mean, she's such a good agent, and of course, we've kind of that being that newer addition. A lot of teams still haven't fully figured out that counter to her, kind of trying to limit the amount of success she does find. But I think in a map like Breeze, which is so spacious, right? It's so open. Those darts can do so much damage, right? They can just find so much information, which is when we go in towards the selection, I'll be very surprised we don't see both teams go for it. And it looking like they are going to set up. As you expected, the Chamber coming out too as well. Not too much of a surprise. A Viper coming up both ways as well. And both teams actually are tempted by the KO pick.
Now, the KO I actually love. I think this is fantastic. You know, he's more or less replaced the Sky for a lot of teams recently, and it's just because of how powerful his utility can be, especially in these kind of big open areas. The big surprise for me is the Cypher versus the Chamber. And I think that the Chamber offers so much more, you know, in terms of anchoring down a site. But I feel like it could be a little bit stylistic. You know, for the longest time, I would say, oh, well, Cypher versus Killjoy, very stylistic. Depends on how you want to run the map. And I think to a large degree, it can be said the same, you know, for the Cypher versus the Chamber. Being able to anchor down a site is a lot of really good utility, but obviously Chamber shines in the economy wheelhouse, and the fact that every round you essentially have a sheriff. Your ultimate is essentially a free operator. That does tend to do wonders for you. And then, of course, the rendezvous working a little bit like a dash. Get a shot, get the hell out of dodge. There's certain things that the Cypher just can't do, but it's a different play style. The Cypher's more in the background. He's gathering intel. He's gathering information. He's catching people on the flank. And I think that that brings a lot to the table as well. And it's going to really determine how these two teams play these compositions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's going to be an interesting time to see, right? Kind of how there's that difference kind of coming through. I like the Chamber pick, and I do actually think Chamber's a lot of positives in towards this map, which potentially already starts to ask a couple of questions to me, whether, you know, just having Chamber in might be the difference maker. As you mentioned, KO, replacing that of Sky. I agree with the pick. You know, just that knife alone does everything, right? So much information, the suppression too on top of that. I think it's a very, very good kind of selection to have coming through. The Viper, I like the pick as well. Viper's pick comes online, shuts out a lot of those common angles, and a lot of kind of a sight individually. Getting in towards this game, I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, as I say, you know, for the most part, with it being a relatively mirrored matchup, a lot of the style is going to be the same. So the biggest difference maker here is going to be the Chamber versus the Cypher. Now, that being said, I mean, obviously, you can still look at two Jet players and say, well, this Jet maybe does this better than that Jet, and you'll still see differences there. But the main goal remains the same. So when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, Jet's achieving, you know, Jet on this side is achieving her goal, Jet on the other side, not so much. So, you know, that makes the difference there. But when you see two players, two agents that are fundamentally trying to reach two very separate goals, there's a little bit more of a metric to work there, which is why I don't find mirror matchups terribly interesting to watch. So I'm glad that there is a little bit of variety in this composition, and hopefully we can spot out some of those key moments and see, are these two Sentinels doing, you know, what they need to do to secure the win?
I'll have to wait and see. Well, now, party on the way into round number 1. Gallia starting on that defender side. Temperate on the attacking side for this one. It is going to be a spicy affair. I'm looking forward to it, to say the least. I think we do have a slight pause for the second before we get underway in towards the game. Hopefully only a minimal one, and then we can get things kick-started momentarily. But yeah, I mean, for these two sides, it's been a long day already, and this is the last game for them. Go out with a bang.
Would it really be a Valorant broadcast without a technical pause of some description?
Of course.
You know, game 1, it was us. Game 2, it's one of the players. Somebody's got to have one. You got to, like, christen each match. At least one map has to have some kind of a problem, or it's just not Valorant.
Oh, precisely. It keeps us on our toes, doesn't it? You know, it's, you know, we got to plug the gap somehow. I think I'm right in saying they are just about going to be ready momentarily to get this one underway. For the most part, we see the Ghosts being picked up. One Sheriff as well, but Mercedes Peak. I've got to say, I'm allowed to... I've got to say, I'm a big fan of it. Mercedes Peak is a confidence pick for them going towards a Sheriff, a hefty investment. They can make it work, though. Fair play. And I guess technically as well, you're challenging the Headhunter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason you want to make sure that you have that little bit of extra power, because while there is one sheriff on the field, there's a chamber. So there's basically two sheriffs on the field. Yeah. You want to make sure that you can try and match some of that firepower wherever possible. I am a little curious to see that there aren't any frenzies coming out. I would have enjoyed some of that, but I think with a map this large, you might not necessarily get the same amount. Oh, as I say that. All right, Josh, you're my new favorite player on the server, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with that frenzy in your hands. And I suppose that makes sense, because as big as the map is, Jet Dash, get in their faces, spray them down with the frenzy, it can work.
No, exactly that. He's very good at closing on a lot of that early space. Now, alright, those bit of information. Not going to be finding too much, though. Shifty making his way in towards mid. They're posturing over towards the B site. Sam, there's no one there to meet them. Only Mercedes Peak, all alone, and a wall in his face might make things all the more uncomfortable. Dash being ready to be set up on towards the site, and they've got it for free for the time being. Spike to be planted momentarily. This site is all in favour now of the attacking side. It's a 5 versus 5 retake.
Spike planted.
What a piece. Mercedes Stokesy. Making that a little bit easier. Pro going to find 1-2.
Camera taken out.
Already not looking too bad at all as the numbers now in favour of Gladius on this retake.
Cage trigger.
Trying to find something to work with. Reed going to come forward.
One
Pello going to
enemy
find one. Calm 2. Down to 1 versus 2 now. And the low HP on Stempy's going to make this so difficult. What can he do to try and deny this post one? Hard ticked as well. Recon to come out, but I don't think he's going to be able to deny. Pros don't fake, it's what they say, and the defuse comes forward. Yes, he finds his 3rd kill. Not going to be good for the 4th, but it does not matter. First on the board for Gladius. Retake. Successful.
And in a situation like that, you've got very little to lose, realistically. And I'm not a fan of 5v5 retakes. I think most analysts will tell you the same thing. It's just not an ideal situation to be in. You want to make sure that you've given yourself an advantage to some degree. And the biggest advantage you can give yourself is the numbers advantage. So to go in 5 versus 5, you completely flip the script a little bit. And it does make things a bit more difficult to navigate. But not too bad for Gladius as they do come out on top of this, so this will be their 4th. I did see a Guardian come out as well. That's quite an investment, but it gets pistols! Oh, man!
Quite the investment, but a good one. Good for the first. Calm one of his own, too. About to come through. Nice flash from Calm there as he finds yet one more. Shifty will fall, but the spike to go down momentarily. In 1 versus, or 2 versus, may I say. 2 versus 2. Stokesy as well, bringing things to that level standing. It's a flank he needs to be careful of. Pro dropping. Stempy falling. Leaves Stokesy. Classic in hand in a 1 versus 2. And it's safe to say this one's going to be brutal for him to try and deny. Running out. He can come through. Damage dealt. Steady speak from behind. Second round will be on the board for Gladius momentarily. And a fairly decent start. But I gotta say though, Temperate are making it expensive.
And that's a big concern here for Gladius. They should have come into this round with everything that they brought into it. So they should have come into the next round, let me rather say. And now, with only 2 players having survived at the end of it, that means, yeah, there you go. It's just upgraded pistols. Whereas realistically, they should have all been on, like, SMGs. Okay, we see the Marshal coming out. Now, that's a little bit of investment, but he's still at 2,300 credits. So, absolutely fine going into the next round. It does mean no armor. A little bit of a glass cannon, but they also realize that they're going into a full buy from Temperate. So, either way, they were likely going to struggle. Their big win condition here, because winning the round is pretty difficult. For them, it's all about keeping it, as we said, expensive.
If they can do that, then we can start to have that conversation. 2-0, good start for Gladius. This one, on paper, should lean in favour of Temper. I'll have to wait and see. Either way, now holding, waiting. All about kind of this early engagement. Deep in towards spawn as well. I mean, how's he just holding? Doesn't need to play too aggressive from the back line as well. Trying to find something with that Marshal. He comes out utility once again over towards the B-side. Dash going to come through as well. Trying to get out the back line. Trapfire will catch the first. Shifty good for one of his own. Spam through, won't quite find his target. Pro causing a couple of issues towards the backside. Suppression is still causing issues. A dink on towards Josh. But it's Josh who finds the kill. And now numbers in favour of Temperate. Spike goes down. This time they're both on a much better back towards it. Or so I say. As Pello finds one more. It's a 3 versus 3. And actually now with collected rifles, this could be problematic. Josh in towards backside. Low on HP. Mercedes people fall. Dodgy holding. Josh one more. And with just the Sheriff calm in a 1 versus 3. This one is done. It's going to be a first on the board for Temperate to be able to find themselves at the very least to start on their 4-buy. Collecting a Vandal. Might try and find things a little bit more expensive. Can he is the question. Spotted out. Trying to get an exit. Will find it, actually. Drops out Josh to eat the very least of the silver lining. But that's all he is going to be able to find. Saving that Vandal. It's going to be a first on the board for Temperate.
It looks like he's going for this. Ah, there you go. He was going to die to something. It's that save penalty, man. You've got to die at the end of the round. So I thought maybe he'd run with his Vandal and try and get a kill and then dip into the bomb. But nah, just die. Get it over with. And yeah, I mean, we said one of their big quote-unquote conditions for this one was to keep it expensive, and they did. They got so many kills, only 2 players left alive. That's going to be a huge detriment for Temperate coming into the next round, because of course they had, you know, half armor on most of their players. The rifles came in, and now they're going to be forced back into it, and the economy is not looking great. 3 of their players down below 1,000 credits, and of course this is going to be a buy for Gladius. I mean, this is where they could potentially turn things back in their favor.
That's for sure. I mean, now it's opportunity, isn't it? Full buy coming up both ways. This is the true test. They got the recon as well. Towards Pyramid, try and find something. Immediately going aggressive, but Josh overextends. Hunter's Fury Lights over the Viper's picked. Pello tried to put one of his own, but he didn't get the chance to. Refreshing coming through towards Dutchy, but for the time being, he can just buy some time. That's all he needs to do. Aldron online. Calm, holding, waiting in towards back yellow. The Viper's pit is the big issue. Right now, it's a 3 versus 4 in favor of Temperate, and Dutchy finding one more as Pro will fall. Everything looking like it should go only one way. Backside spotted, trying to find it, and will do it. Back Calm, low on HP. It's actually going to be Dutchy with a quad kill to his name to tie this game back up 2 rounds apiece.
Oh, you mentioned Dutchy at the start, and I can see why. A great round from him, a 4K. Beautiful stuff. And that Viper's Pit, of course, also comes up so clutch there, denies a lot of those sidelines. They just kind of play around it a little bit, and it gives them the extra space that they need to just, you know, ensure themselves the round. But now, we spoke a little bit about that economy, and winning that round was very important for Temperate, because it means that they're starting to build that cash up again. It was still reasonably expensive, but they're looking fairly flushed. It's Gladius now who seems to have a huge advantage. 2 ultimates thrown into this big Sheriff's good grief.
Oh yeah, they've gone for a hefty investment here. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Looking to try and find more as well. Josh can just drop in towards the backline. Spike will come through, and now in a post-one, they're going aggressive, but they actually overextend. Stokesy will fall. It's the Viper versus Viper, and Pello comes on top. Instant trade coming on towards Calm, but that's all they're going to find. The Blaze-Storm delivering for 1. Pello 1 more as well, and in fact, Gladius are making this a doable affair. It's a 1 versus 3, and all they have to do against Dutchy is play the trade game. Play for the numbers, play for it. Damage, 4 points of HP. Finds another kill. Fine, problems will be caused, and Pello will make it a 3K. 3rd on the board for Gladius.
I mean, that was a brilliant round. Okay, it, quote-unquote, expensive. They lost a lot of players, but they spent nothing into it. They used like 1 ultimate. I heard the 2 ults go off, and I misread the situation. It was actually Temperate's KO that popped the ultimate, so it leaves them with no abilities, but they're going on the site. This is just the Cypher that's left with no abilities, and that's like, okay. So these pistol warriors, the Sheriff's back in town, pushing aggressively out of A, creating that pincer movement, coming in from behind, and I mean, they just play that so well. They knock Temperate off of their stride, and they take back control. Now, this is going to be an interesting round, because of course we've got dueling operators, but we've also got a Bladestorm getting popped here.
Oh, and there it is. Mercedes P, good night. Josh finding himself the first. Numbers it back in favor of Temperate, but we've seen him lose his position before. Get a bit of information on towards the B side. There's actually no one there to beat them. Snake Bite will come forward. Josh finding yet 1 more. We mentioned the Bladestorm being popped, and it's so far so successful as Josh is causing significant issues. He's just being a menace as well, actively trying to deny any sort of a rotation to come through. The Snake Bite once again popped, and they will be collected, but more to be found. Will he find it? It's the question. The answer's no. Calm with a double. Giving them a leeway back into the side. Now numbers brought level once further, as we mentioned. It's Cypher Cage online too. Stokesy, head on a swivel, finds C1 Pro, and that's now giving them something to work with. Dives back into his pillar. Get 1 more. Looking for the 3K, but it's shifty to deny it. Halsey will fall, and that's going to be this game tied all square once again.
Oh, solid round from Temperate. Good grief. The way they deny so much space with their utility. I mean, you'll see it most likely in the replays, but here you go. I mean, this Viper Wall, for example, is so good at isolating a lot of those duels. Oh, man, we're gonna have to slow that down. You know, even with the cage, they actually use that to their own advantage, dipping around the pillar as well. Perfectly executed, and then the crossfire from window, just really solid stuff here. A difficult round for Gladius to get back into. That B site seems a bit of a tough one to hold on to. Now, of course, coming into this round, back down onto an eco. Things have been very shaky for this Gladius side.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, it's been a round for an affair thus far. Josh got nice and aggressive. I like this. He can get a lot of information individually. Instead, he's peek holding him behind, though, will be tested. Here's the TP away. The rendezvous works. Shifty in the back lines. Gonna try and find the first. Still an aggressive fight, but in fact now back to a, I'm gonna say a 4 versus 4, but it's Carmen Pro, in fact, to make these pistols work in 2 versus 4. Tempo will get that strike down, but now they're gonna be in for a tough time trying to set themselves up. They're all theft will come on the line. Snake bite to come and deny a bit of that presence. Suppression out though, and that makes it all the more difficult. Stokes, he has to go huge, and there's the first. What more can he find? The flash won't really catch him. Stempy drops out calm, and now they've got some room to work with, trying to deny a bit of that presence, that rotation in. All down to this back sight hold. Gun barrel was spotted, but no head found for the time being. Tapping the spike, and made out a peak, and there it is. Bring a 4 to it. Stempy for a double 2. That's a post plant as Temperate make it 4.
So if they'd come out on top of this one, I was gonna lose it because somehow, like, Gladius do the exact same thing that they did a few rounds back. But stabilization, we spoke about it. That mid-round ability to bounce back when things have started to go a little, you know, against your favor. We see that coming in spades from Temperate in that round. They're able to maintain their composure, hold those all-important cross angles, and, well, just spray down those last few players left alive. And I was a little surprised that they lost so many players. We spoke about keeping it expensive. Now, in a full buy round, they're popping the tour de force because they don't really have the cash to back up, you know, buying a rifle in as well, which means that they won't have that for, like, a pistol round. And the ult economy over time could become a little bit wonky.
No, exactly that. I couldn't agree more. I mean, but I mean, not even the ult economy too, just the general economy. Because it's been such a round for an affair, and even the rounds that each of these two sides have won, they've been so expensive. That's a real big issue. If he can't protest the waters in towards that up, what can he find is the question. Not too much. Dutchy for the first. Traded immediately by Pello as he finds his second.
Going up.
Already Gladius trying to make this a 4 versus 4, and once again, as even as it has been thus far. Trying to find a bit of room to work with. But actually Shifty's tour de force that comes to line. And so well done so. Mercedes Peak has to try and take a step away. Pello up to 3. Remaining. He's causing issues. Spike just down to 1 now for Temperate. And Shifty is nowhere to be seen. They know he was lost in towards mid. As this tour de force makes his way in towards main. So much he has to do with so little to work with. And will even clear the close right. Close left is a crossfire set up too. Spotted out. It's surely just a matter of time before he's done here now.
30 seconds left.
Rendezvous will come out of line. Given the ability to fall away, but even still, this crossfire is immaculate. Trying to find anything here will be something, and he won't be able to do so. Pello up to 4. For him individually, same can be said for Gladius. We're title square.
Yeah, Gladius, they're much better when they take a little bit more of a passive stance and when the hit is on the A site. B seems to be a little bit of a weak link for them, but this hold on A was very strong, really well done. And I think one of the issues with B is because they've got so much of that Viper util over on A, the weak link is that Cypher hold. And I'm not saying that it's the Cypher pick necessarily that's the issue, but it's that struggle to maintain hold of the site, get the information across to the rest of the team, get the rotations in, because usually when they go B, it's a pretty fast hit. Now you can actually see they've swapped things up. Cypher's over on A, they've dropped the Viper's Pit over on B. That makes sense. They want to deny B from happening entirely if possible. See if they can funnel Temperate onto the A site.
I kind of funnel them into a bit of a chokehold as well. I mean, that's kind of the idea here. These two sides so evenly matched for the time being. It's all about the final margin. Speaking of, Shifty gonna find Pello. That's an important kill. Pello should have stayed in time in terms of his own snake bite. Or Viper's Pit, might I say. But we won't be able to. Hunter's Fury coming online. Calm, get one more. Looking for 3 and he finds it. Calm, that's brilliant. Stempy will fall. 1-man pillar on towards his site. Dancing around the pillar. And it's left them Temperate down to just 2. Well, at the very least, though, fine, Mercedes people, that could buy them a rotation back over towards A. And actually, they're going to do exactly that.
This is great stuff from Gladius. Great adaptations. Can they maintain it? 3 versus 2, yeah, it's doable.
Spike down
Versus
A.
2. Dutchy. In the back lines, though. We'll be able to get into a bit of an elevated position and potentially, with 20 seconds left, could make this work, but the spike drop is the biggest issue. Spotting the elbow of one, tapping away, gives away the ruse, and surely now that's the round done. The spike is dropped, but even getting a
10
plant down here is going to be a big ask.
Spike
Let's
retreat.
expect it. Gonna have to get it down, I think, just in enough time. Closer a little tap away, we'll find anything is the answer. Yes, it is. Dutchy will fall. Spike goes down. So that's a silver lining. Temperate find 3 kills. Again, not too bad. Here, it's Gladius to take a slim 1-round lead.
I love it. You know, as I'm talking about how weak their B-site defense is, they completely changed things up, okay? And a lot of it is off the back of having that Viper's Pit available. You know, they want to drop the pit on B. So they change a little bit of that up, and it works out really well, because when you have the KO there chilling on the site, Calm, and he does so well to hold it down, using that util so effectively, like we said before. And of course, just hitting those shots makes a big difference. So anchoring down B forces Temperate into an unfavorable position, and they're not able to restabilize. They've lost too many players at that point. Now, I'm curious. Looks like there's going to be a Mercedes peak B-side anchor, which could get overrun.
Yeah, I mean, very easy to get put in its place. Suppression coming through as well. Mercedes peak. So little he can do from this position. Cloudburst in his face, trying to try a bit of pressure. How's he going to find the first? Dutchy falling is exactly what they're looking for. Mercedes peak will fall too, but the trader comes in. Snakebite as well. He needs to jump away. Just got a little bit of a gap to work with. It's all about timing right now for the likes of Temperate. Numbers in their favor. That's all that they need to play with. Play for the trades. Play for those numbers. Yeah, damage is dealt. That's going to find a frag. In fact, Stokesy will fall.
Spike
Not exactly
down,
the
B.
dream. Versus 3. Tap it away. Hunter's Fury comes on the line. Dutchy going to fire one more. Stempy tries to support as well, but the very least information, and he does get some. So, what can Calm do is the first point of contact for Gladius. He's tucked in towards that back wall. He literally can't make his way out. The crossfire setup. Dutchy's low on HP is the only kind of side for them. Lovely flash, lovely swing. Calm will fall, and it's down to 1. All down to Halsey trying to deny this. He knows the spike coming down. He knows where the information is, but trying to isolate 3 kills is going to be tough.
This B-site, man.
It's locked out. In that post plant. Nothing he can do surely now. There's so many players to find, so little time. He's being toyed with as well. Shifty will clean things out. And you know what, Simon, you were kind of mentioning about how having only one player anchoring here might be a bit of a concern. And it was.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried because it was the Jet of all things. I mean, we know how a Jet can pop off, absolutely, but it doesn't really have that stall utility that tends to come with having a Sentinel, something like a Cypher who can throw down the cages, or a Chamber with the traps, you know, something to that effect. And yeah, okay, the Jet's got a pretty good angle, spots out the team, gets back, calls in the rotation from the rest of the team, but the timing just doesn't work out. And as I mentioned, the site somewhat gets overrun. Now the question becomes, so what are the adaptations going to be once again? Because economy is a bit shaky, if I'm not mistaken. I believe one of these teams should be on a pistol round. Yeah, there you go. It'll be Gladius on a bit of a pistol round here. So again, going for the really aggressive play. That should have tipped me off.
Shifty. Finding the first over towards B. Once again, this time no one really there to meet them. Halsey goes for a free, gets decimated with relative ease. For the remaining 3 of Gladius, I think it's safe to say this one's done. If they can find anything in terms of making things expensive, it'll be a positive sign, but it's doubtful, to be perfectly honest. This should only go one way. 5 versus 3, and Temperate knocking on the door of 6. Sheriff? Calm will find 2. Hang on a second, now we potentially have made this a little bit more doable. It's 3 versus 3, and these pistols are causing problems. Calm has been an individual who stepped up massively and consistently. Time is ticking. Shock dog on through. Bro, we tagged by him. Josh will finish things off. One more from his AP. Looking for a second one. If I find it, it's Josh who cleans things up. 6th on the ball for Temperate, only 2 remaining alive. But the pistols of Gladius made that
Last
expensive.
round in the half.
Well, doesn't really matter. We're last round in the half. It's full rifles across the board, despite the fact that they kept it. They got quite a few kills out of it. It wasn't ideal, all things considered, but the score line has been kept incredibly close here, and this is definitely a winnable round for Gladius. It's going to be tough. They have 2 of those ultimates available for them, the Operator as well, a lot of firepower behind them, but Mercedes Peak, a little bit of a glass cannon with only that half armor, and well, apparently that's all he needs.
So speak of the first. Operators stepping up. We haven't really seen too much of the operators to kind of finding those impact frags. That's a decent start. Over towards kind of A side as well. It's completely open. Josh gonna find one. Palo falls. Viper's pit online though. And Stokesy, all he has to do is just hold and wait, deny all this presence and this rotation. But speaking of Halsey, setting up somewhat of a flank.
And this is heartbreaking. I mean, we say that the B site is their weak link, and they leave it they make it super guarded, but they don't go B.
That's it. Aldrin coming through as well. 2 versus 4, this retake. Back on 2, it's Calm going to find Stokesy, and that might confirm things. Josh will fall too, and what a retake it is at the half. It's as even as it can be. 6-6.
I was a little worried. You know, we said the B site was a bit weak, so they clearly figured that out. They put a fairly big stack over towards the B site, and then they start going for A, and I start to like panic a little bit, and I'm like, no, they've left all of their forces on the B site. What are they going to do now when it's the attack hit? And then I should have remembered, this is, you know, where they do well. The A site is... Okay, that particular angle definitely helped out as well. Some of these kind of sneaky picks from behind made a huge difference. But they've managed to even out the scoreline at the half. And honestly, that's a great situation to be in. Very, very back and forth between these two teams. Bearing in mind, of course, this is Gladius's map pick. So we're looking to see if they can create a little bit of a runaway tear for themselves here in the second half. Because when we move on to Temperate's map pick, it could become a little bit more dicey.
6-6. As even as it gets, it's really looking pretty decent, I gotta say. These two sides, they were evenly matched towards the pistol round. A little bit of a slower tempo than what we've been used to. Recon to come through. Josh needs to be extremely careful now as well from above. Through the smoke, gets decimated. Jet versus Jet. Mercedes Peak comes out on top. Looking for more as well. Dutchy tapping away, but it's delayed a couple of times. Hello, Calm. What a piece.
Spike planted.
Well, we'll fall soon, and I think that might confirm things. It will. Stokesy drop. It's a flawless pistol there for Gladius as they notch themselves up to 7.
I mean, Mercedes Peak kind of living up to his name a little bit there at the start of that round, and manages to get quite a few kills for himself as well. I like the way that they kind of fan out quite well to take a lot of control, you know, up in the halls towards the back of the site. They make sure that they're not kind of funneling in one direction, but spreading themselves out where possible. Now, on their fourth round, Mercedes Peak forcing onto the hero rifle. I love this. It can backfire, however, so he needs to be pretty damn good with it.
Oh, no. Aldrin makes his way out. We've seen this crossfire set up once before. Temporary this time, not good work with. Sheriff, good for the first. Look at one more. Won't be able to find it. Mercedes speaking for the trade. Close range. Dutchy. Only damage as Calm finds that second kill on towards the side to now this gives them a free run onto the side itself. Say speak, get one more. Looking to find another. Snake Bite will force him off. Makes him vulnerable too, but the spike plant. Those blocks as well, looking pretty strong as Mercedes Peak bits and yet one more kill. Looking for the quad, will he find it? Damage does towards them, Fever Towelsy to clean things up. That's the 8. That's the 2-round lead for Gladius. Now's the true test. Temperate, this is the full buy. This is where they need to find some success.
Now, keeping that a little bit more expensive would have been ideal. They only do manage to get 1 kill there. So, of course, Pello is going to be on a Sheriff. But let's face it, Pello's been an absolute demon on that Sheriff in the first half. I mean, just the most obscene eliminations. So we'll see if he can continue with that streak. On the other hand, however, this is an important round for Temperate because it's their first buy-in. It's the power-up round, as it were. But 3 of their players, of course, on half armor, so not as powered up as they would have liked to have been, but still very much have the advantage here. Let's see how they make use of that.
Wednesday. Well, already. Bit of a slower tempo this one. Not seeing that kind of immediate aggression. Fanning out, looking for clues. Like Scooby-Doo. Not going to find too much for the second, though. Shifty. Good for the first. Calm will fall. How's it hold this angle? Should be for a freebie, and he'll find it. Number 4 level once again. Stokesy, that's an overextension that wasn't necessary. Swing it back in, though, and this time he faces it. Josh tries to do exactly the same. And Mercedes Peak responds. It's kill for kill, blow for blow, round for round. Thus far, they're hunting to find their 7th Temperate to deny this pressure. Hello's got in behind with that Sheriff, and he's unable to hit the shots this time. Spike will go down in the hands of Mercedes Peak, and Pro going to find one more. Now there's actually room for this to find some... well, security in this post barn. It's a 2 versus 2, but it's an aggressive post barn, which is what I like. They're hunting for the information, and these two players will make their way forward. They're going to struggle to do
One
something.
enemy remaining.
Through. Swing in, Mercedes Peak will find Stempy. And a door down to Dodgy. Blazetone goes a line, dashing away as well. They got the information for the time being. It was Black Temple. Labored Spray doesn't find the kill. Mercedes Peak with the Blazetone will find the 9th with Gladius. This could be them on the home stretch to find their map now.
I mean, talk about an expensive round. That was a round that, generally speaking, Gladius shouldn't have come away with. It was the first full buy for Temperate. They, by all odds, should have been the ones that came out on top, but unfortunately not able to make that happen. Okay, Temperate keep it expensive themselves. They take down a lot of the Gladius players. But unfortunately, Gladius just, you know, yeah, it's a rough one. So now we head into our next one, and of course Temperate going to be on again that pistol round at a huge deficit here, and much like their counterparts, going for a very aggressive push on this pistol defense.
That's it, looking for something. The Marshal, in fact, into the back lines, good for a freebie. Looking for 2, won't quite find it. Damage dealt though towards Halsey, so I mean there's pauses there, a kill and bit of half damage, not gonna say no at all. Still, numbers are level. Aldrone spots out the info. They know they're trying to go towards B. Hence why you see Dutchy rotate back over. Hunter's Fury online though, trying to get the backside. For the time being, nothing to be found. Mercedes Peak going aggressive. And actually, Dutchy will fall to. Boosted up. Updraft gives him that elevator position. He might just be able to throw a pixel or 2. Recon Dart will give away the ruse. He's touching the backside. Mercedes Peak gets a little bit fortunate. Stempy.
That's illegal.
That's brutal. Nothing you can do to plan against that. Is now left down to just 2. 2 versus 4. Shifty though. This could be the difference. This could be the clutch to success. He's spotted out by Pello. And all down to Stokesy. Sheriff in hand. Will find himself one, but that's all he will find. 10 rounds for Gladius as they're 3 away. And they all lose with 13.
Oh, double digits. Oh, that's such a rough position for Temperate to be in. Now, of course, we knew that they weren't really going to come out on top of that previous round. They try to keep it expensive, but as Gladius slowly claw their way up in the points line, it starts to make less and less of a difference. Now Shifty buying into that operator. Doesn't have the tour de force online just yet, but if he can get 1 or 2 kills here, we'll have that into the next round. And they're gonna potentially need it, because if they don't win this round, they're back down onto pistols. This is becoming more and more important.
This could be one of the last kind of full buys we see from Temperate if things keep going the way they're going right now. I mean, they're in a really uncomfortable state. Now, aggressive. Mercedes Peak needs to be careful of sight. It was backside, though. Stokes into the first. Traded immediately by Mercedes Peak. What more can he find at the second? Josh will fall. That is lightning fast from Mercedes Peak, and he dashes back in towards front yellow. Now we can just lock things out. Anyone who rotate through mid will walk straight in towards that crosshair. Aldron going to come forward, though. We'll clear the close position. Spotting him out. Cloudburst in the face. Swinging back in. Finding yet one more. Shifting will fall. Mercedes Peak, this is textbook. It's down to just Stempy.
Standing ahead.
Recon Dot will come forward in a 1 versus 2 here. The crossfire is so good. Back yellow can just remain there. Back pyramid as well. So don't overextend. You'll make things kind of costly. Stempy. He's got so little to work with, no little info, and he's going to fall to the hands of Mercedes Peak. It's a quad kill to his name as they go up to 11. As we mentioned, that was a full buy for Temperate. Could be one of their last.
Oh, what an absolutely ridiculous round when you consider how a lot of it actually went. Mercedes Peak getting a ridiculous amount of kills there. I mean, look at his score, 21-9. In so many ways, living up to the Mercedes Peak name. Very well played there. Now, as we said, okay, not on a pistol round. It is interesting to me that they're forcing into this, though. Like, they're spending a lot of cash into this. They're dropping 2 ultimates as well right off the bat. This could wind up being very expensive.
Hang on, though. Stokes, you're going to find the first. Running a live matches, but then he falls immediately after, and that's the big difference maker. Now, swinging forward, Mercedes Peak potentially get that res online. Actually, yeah, it will come through. So that's not the end of the world. Calm back in the game. And this is now a different story. Blazetone popped. Good for 1. Looking to make it yet another. The question is, can they? Josh back sight. Viper's Pit popped. Blaze-Storm finding yet one more. The classic will come out. Free pistol, not able to find the damage it was hoping for. Can it find the kill though? Josh still half HP. This time he will fall. Quick trade comes through from Stempy though. His Vandal delivering recon dart as well to give them some room to work for in a 1 versus 2. Will he find the timing is the question. Swinging in, finds that first, but it's only the first 12 rounds for Gladius. They are 1 away from taking map number 1 under their belt.
Listen, I said we were expecting a strong second half from them on their map pick, but this is, yeah, a lot better than what I think I might have been expecting. Some really solid performance here. We find ourselves on match point. They have absolutely everything in their back pockets, and Temperate, they're going to be the ones really struggling to come into this one. They forced on the previous round. They used 2 of their ultimates. They have to force again, and it's not a good force. They've also bought into the Tour de... Not bought, but they've popped the Tour de Force. They have 2 ultimates here to try to work with. Let's see if they can leverage it.
Well, that's the big question. Now, already, good start. Josh faked a second, but it's Pello and Owlsy, in fact, causing problems. Josh will get 1 more.
Player standing.
Shifty.
Spike down.
At least
A.
bring it down to somewhat in their favor. In fact, it's not. There's a 1 versus 1 damage as well.
One enemy
towards Pello,
remaining.
going to make this very difficult. It's a 1 versus 1, but the spike is down. He's going for the big flank end. This could work quite nicely in his favor. He might get a little bit of timing. Only 47 points of HP, but he's going to make the wrap back on towards that of Main. Going nice and quiet, and with plenty of time to work with as well. He's not under too much pressure. Stokesy, does he have an idea or an inkling of where it's actually coming from? It's all about this timing. If he turns back round, he might be able to get a freebie, but if he keeps facing the wrong way, this could be brutal. All about it. Knocks him out, and there it is. Pello play timing like a beast. 13-6. Map number 1 goes the way of Gladius Valorant.
Oh man, that final 1v1 and Pello, I mean, there's so many angles. There is an entire site of angles that need to be checked, and the probability of somebody sneaking up behind you is like reasonably low. I mean, it's probably like a 50-50, right? And at that point, you can't really afford to make a mistake. You've got to make a choice.
Agreed.
You don't have the opportunity to think it through, and unfortunately made the wrong choice. Gladius, wow, what a stunning attacking half. I mean, the defensive half was pretty good, I'll give you that, but Temperate seemed to kind of have the run on them. But as soon as we swapped sides, it was like a completely different Gladius. I can't wait to see what they do on map 2. I mean, if this is what we get on map 1, and bearing in mind Temperate were, again, not necessarily a favorite, but we knew them as a very strong team, a strong contender for that top spot. And you were the one that pointed them out to me, and I'm not terribly impressed yet. Hopefully they can pick things up on their own map pick.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. I mean, it started so well, didn't it? And it just fell off. It seems like the second we got to the halfway mark, Temperate just slowly just started to fall off. They couldn't really find anything. It was so surprising to me, to say the least. And now, of course, we kind of focus our attention towards that map number 2. And you just hope that they can find that form again, find that first half form, because it was brilliant. I mean, even as it got in towards that first half, I thought, you know, we were going to get the full distance, potentially even OT on the cards, that sort of scenario. But no, it really fell off towards that second half and onwards. And, you know, credit as well the other way to Gladius. As you mentioned, their attacking side was phenomenal.
Mercedes Peak ended that half at 23-11. And something else that I find really impressive for a Jet, 6 assists. It's not often that you see a ton of those assists coming out, so really well played there, making sure to keep the entire team afloat. But our second map of the series is, of course, going to be Bind. And that is Temperate's map pick. Now, this is going to be the first time this evening that we're seeing Bind. In fact, I think we will have seen 4 different maps tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's go.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, that never happens. Usually we get, like, at least one map that we see, like, 7 different times. But, yeah, a little bit of variety here this evening. So we're heading on in over to Bind. And again, the question of composition is going to be a big one. For the most part, these two teams seem to have kind of leaned into the meta quite well. The current tier 1 meta. I would have liked to have seen a Neon, but sure, fair enough, We stick with what works, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
That's what you're into.
Yeah.
But as we head in onto Bind, there are a few different options across a lot of tier 1 teams that have had varying results. I personally like the Fnatic approach, but we'll see what they do, opt into when the time comes.
Before we do, though, we'll take a look at the stats. You highlighted Mercedes Peak, and for good reason. I mean, 23 kills, 11 deaths, 6 assists, 318 ACS. I mean, a really, really solid performance from Mercedes Peak. Of course, the duelist, of course, the high impact frag and the entry, but really lived up to it. Sometimes it's safe to see that kind of those duelists go a little bit quiet, a little bit missing, but that wasn't the case with Mercedes Peak. And he, especially on the attacking side, really found that form.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, in our previous series how, there was one Jet specifically that, had some really good pop-off moments with the Blade Storm and then just kind of like fell off a little bit towards the halfway through the match. This was something entirely different from Mercedes Peak. We spoke about the consistency and how important that is. And he had that. From round to round, he was there. Okay, there was that one round where he was like kind of solo anchoring B, and it didn't quite work out. But for the most part, he's been very much on top of his game.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I think, it's safe to say he had a really good game, and hopefully he can keep this form going into his map too. And if he does, there's then that kind of potential and conversation around whether we'll see that kind of a 2-map series, whether we see, Temperate going out at this stage without really being able to compete. Bind becomes a very interesting kind of a scenario for me. One thing to mention that I think you obviously would have picked up on as well is that on the attacking side, we mentioned how good it was from Gladius, but that team synergy was very, very prevalent there. I mean, it was very good. The executes coming forward were perfect. The utility to support as well with the flashes, the recon darts coming over to allow Mercedes P to create a lot of that space. That was the difference maker between, you look over towards the other side of Temperate, the executes had some sort of formidability about them, but they just weren't that, that coerced, I think is one way to put it. And that was very costly, which, led to them having quite the even first half.
Yeah, they had a very strong attacking half, Temperate, and it felt like, I think that leans more into Gladius having a weaker defensive half. Yeah. I mean, when you look at how Gladius ran that attacking side, it was pristine. It was a clinic on attacking Breeze. So really well played there. But on their defensive half, there were a lot of holes in their defense. There were a lot of places that could be exploited by Temperate. Of course, the weak B site being, one of the big ones. And credit to Temperate for being able to take advantage of those small opportunities and leveraging them into consistent round wins. 6-6 half, nothing to snub at. But unfortunately, when we swapped sides, it was an impenetrable defense. It was not an impenetrable defense because that was the point that Gladius were on attack, and it was just an unstoppable force.
There we go. Exactly that. Now focusing towards Bind, though, you do have to start getting slightly, cautious. I gotta ask you, Sam, do you expect Ascent to be played here? Do you think it's going to 3 maps?
Tough to say. I think that if Gladius's defense is anything to kind of indicate as we head into the next round, it could be rough because Gladius are now starting on defense. They've chosen to start on defense, so they will start on defense again. And that could lend itself to a little bit of a runaway lead for Temperate because, this isn't their map pick, so they need to come up strong on this one. But if what we saw in the first half of that first map was like a warm-up run for Gladius, and now, they, put the big boy pants on, and it's just complete chaos from here on out, complete control and strength and power, then this could be a bit of a runaway 2-0. I'm really hoping to see a little bit more of fight out of Temperate. I think that there's a lot of, we said there's some skilled players on that team. They've achieved quite a bit in the UK, at Insomnia and getting some really good placements. So I think that they're capable of putting up a fight, and it's just, are they able to rally themselves enough, especially off the back of that defeat? I mean, not picking up a single round in the second half, you've got to think that that's quite crushing to the mental.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's about whether they can now mentally reset. It requires a lot, doesn't it? To be able to kind of turn this back in your favor, to be able to kind of forget the past, focus on what the present is now and of course try and push yourself towards that map number 3 of Ascent, it requires a lot of that mental reset. But as we did say, you know, the Temperate guys, they're guys who are known within the UK scene, and for a reason. They're very, very good, very well respected and regarded, and been dotted around since, you know, the early beginnings of Valorant back in the beta. So for me, with the kind of experience they've got, whether it, you know, they haven't really gone to the pinnacle by any means, but they've got experience in terms of playing these sort of tournaments. I think they're going to be more than fine just to be able to mentally reset. It's more for me a question of can they actually overcome Gladius, because they just generally, especially after that second half, just look at the better side. It's so simple, so effective, you know, but it is just the case. On their map pick of Breeze, they look like the better side, but that could be the same in reverse on towards Bind.
I think a really interesting factor or an interesting thread to follow through is going to be the Vipers, because I felt like the Vipers had a lot of impact on Breeze, a really good util usage for the most part, particularly those walls to deny a lot of those sight lines. And obviously, you know, Bind is another map where that Viper can have a very strong presence. And so I think that if that continues, then this could again be a fairly even matchup. But again, it's going to really come down a lot to what those compositions are going to be once they're fleshed out. You know, we spoke a little bit about the stylistic difference between the Chamber and the Cypher. And it did kind of play itself out a little bit. I think that the Cypher really lived up to the historical hype with having him on Breeze and doing really well on the defensive side. But of course, the Chamber is a very different sort of play. But that was the only big difference we had between the two teams. And I'll be interested to see, you know, as we move on to Bind, what other interesting differences might we see? You know, could we see the Sky? Are we going to be sticking with the KO? Wow, okay, Sky and KO. I was about to start mentioning Brimstone, and there it is. The Razor's pretty standard. The Sage is an interesting one for me, particularly because it's Mercedes' peak on the Sage. And that could be because, so you want to have a Raze. T1 Pro probably is the only Raze player on the team. Mercedes might not necessarily have a good Raze, and then you need Mercedes to play something, so you stick them in Sage jail. And to me, that kind of screams of not good.
No, I mean, that is already to be a little bit concerning. I think it's probably the way to put it. You look over towards the other side, though, it's a very, very standard composition. And right as it's actually the same composition they ran in their previous game just before this, in which they won 10-13, right? Or 13-10. They're over Camp GG, or the side they played before. So it's a similar comp. It's one that kind of Temperate know very well. For Gladius, as you mentioned, somewhat concerning. The Sage is not too common. We'll have to wait and see how Mercedes peak fares. Either way, early doors, bit of presence shown over towards that of Short. What can they find is the question. Already going aggressive. Josh leading the charge. Frenzy in hand. Gonna find a little bit of that space. Sound cues are being heard, so they're all too aware. In comes the slow orb as well. Trying to drive it. A presence is calm for the first. Flash in the corner. Could find him one. Looking for two as well. He's found it. Can he make it a third is the question. Arm spotted. Slow orb will keep him alive for the time being. It's ball time for a rotation. Pello, will he be aware? It doesn't matter. Stokesy will find one more, and they're going to TP away.
I mean, they're running to a relatively open site, but two players right there in the back of sight. Very low HP, though. Actually forces them all the way back. This is great stuff, but simply their presence has put a stall on the attack.
I mean, that's exactly that. Just by staying here, they kind of make this post-one a little bit more difficult. Numbers in favor of Gladius, but I mean, this damage being dealt. You look towards kind of Pro and Halsey, they have got slithers of HP to work with. Calm trying to find the early bit of pressure. Guarding Lau, come on the corner. Calm's gonna fall. Trade will come in from Pro though.
Who trained you?
Nice kill from Stokes. He's making yet one more. It's a second kill in the round. Looking for three. He might be giving it as well. Damage low. 2 versus 2. Both sides taking significant damage. Pro gonna find yet one more. Doesn't matter that he's taking some significant hits. He's only one bullet away. He's gonna try and fight this one out. Donchi trying to deny, and he will. 2 kills from his neighbors. Temperate find their first.
Alright, keeping things close as ever. Good to see some things don't change. Temperate on the attacking half. Managing once again to take advantage of a slightly weaker defense. But of course I get ahead of myself. This is, you know, the pistol round. They can be, as we mentioned, a little 50-50. So we'll see what happens as we head into the next round. It will be the force up here for Temperate. And I'll be interested to see if they play into the hero rifle again. They did that on Breeze. It did work out relatively well for them, but no, this time around, instead, just a very, very normal, straight force against, well, normal pistols. This should be a pretty normal round.
Launching smoke. Stim beacon down.
On paper, but can't.
Spike down A.
Find himself at least one, causing a little bit of an issue there. Now they're onto the site, though. This one is going to be tough to retake. Having got the firepower to work with, we've seen that long rotation come through as well over towards B. No one there as well. Snakebite will come in to deny a little bit of that room. And they're very, very slow on this rotate. I mean, they're most likely cased now, just kind of looking for exits. They know that that retaking is very, very difficult to do. So potentially just try and play for an X-Frag, pick yourself up a Spectre of some sort. In they come, though. Mercedes peak. Classic in hand. Dutchy to find one. Will he get the second? The question. There's a matter. 118 to find one more. Number 4 remaining alive is Temperate up to a second round.
Somewhat to be expected, I think, all things considered. They do lose one player, so that's going to be one player likely on a Sheriff. Now, this is a big moment for Gladius. This is the time where they could possibly turn things back in their favor. They're able to buy up here, and there's a lot of cash that they can spend into this. I mean, very often we'll see teams on this round where you've got 3, maybe 4 players on half armor. Now, we can actually see Mercedes Peak had full armor, opted instead to buy some piece of util instead, and drop back to the half armor. And sometimes that little bit of util can make all the difference in the world.
Out towards short once again. This has been the default for Temperate thus far, and so far been so good. Blast back coming in as well. That gives him a lot of space to work with. Josh trying to get that spike down.
Spike planted.
And he will be able to do so. The spray coming through. I thought for a second it might get a little bit fortunate. Not the case. It's a manic time over toward the boot. When he coming forward, he'll just be able to heal himself back up. Was looking a little bit dicey for a second. Fake has to come through or deny a little bit of that pressure towards U-Haul. Bro, spamming through, gonna find himself one. Nice kill. Looking for one more as well. Having to find his spam through the smoke. Can't find the transfer. Pello.
One enemy
We'll
remaining.
change things out. Stokes is in behind. Molotov on the spike as well. And that more or less could confirm things. And it will. It's 3-0 to Temperate. And they really want to push this that third map.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, they've had quite enough. Really, really solid round from them. I did not expect it to go this way, but I mean, getting that first kill, then you're able to upgrade to a rifle, and as the dominoes continue to fall, you're just picking up more and more weaponry, and they put themselves in a really, really solid position. I said really, really way too many times there. Now it is the full buy of Temperate. For the most part, Shifty actually not buying... Surely that's a bug? Did he just not buy armor? Anyway, I suppose it's not the end of the world, because you know that the enemy team are just going to be on Sheriffs.
Well, on Sheriffs they are. Pro holding, invites to give it a pressure. Nice and open angle. And he will be dropped with relative ease. He needed something special to find a headshot there. Not going to find it. Running away over towards B, and there's no one there to meet them. It's going to be an easy plant to come through. Timing gets the worst of Dutchy, though, as Pello. Nice, easy frag for him. Spike is done on the left. Calm, what a shot. Shifty will fall. I didn't think they had much in them here, but potentially there could be something about it. Calm needs to be careful. Suppression will come through as well, so no guarding like Stempy's open that close corner. Swinging as well. Sheriff not going to find the target. 2 players stacked here. Walton forward well. Hang on a second. Mercedes P. What is this? Stopper to come. Multi gets picked up in the sky. Stokes to get one more. Seeking a line. Judge to find one. Will do. Good for 2. Can he find it? Only a dink as well. It's a 1 versus 1. Playing so passive, so far away. The Seekers is causing such an issue. Tapping the spike once further. Guarding light on as well. And Stempy has played that to perfection. That's the 4th.
I mean, talk about keeping it expensive. This was an eco round for Gladius, and for them to have kept it so incredibly close. And again, it's that same formula that we saw previously. You get a pick, you upgrade a little bit, and then you leverage that. Okay, a lot of these picks were with the Sheriffs, to be, you know, fair. credit where credit's due. But it works out really well for them in that they're able to kind of get a little bit of extra weaponry in the bag, and they start pulling things back in their favor. And this is the first time that we're seeing a tactical timeout come through. Clearly, Gladius starting to feel the pressure a little bit here. We talk about how round 5 can be that momentum shifting round, and I think that's exactly what they're looking to make this, is they're going to be buying in once again. I'm going to be curious to see if Temperate are going to be able to come out with too much of a buy here. I think they should be reasonably okay. They should still be able to force into it, but that little bit of a safety net of cash is going to be heavily dented. So if they lose this round, they're in some serious trouble.
That's it. I mean, already we're kind of starting to see the pressure being really put into the hands of Gladius there. Not looking too phenomenal right now. And you do start to get slightly concerned about the question of, is this a map in which they're any good at playing? So far, not looking phenomenal for them. A full buy coming out, as you mentioned, but one of the biggest things, that long-term economy is so lackluster for Gladius that they're going to be stuck in this kind of brutal cycle of full buy in, failure to convert it, back to a eco, rinse and repeat. It's a horrible, horrible situation to be in, and really tough to break because Temperate are so momentum-based.
And momentum can be so important, especially if you keep the game pacing in your own favor. But here we go. A very, very aggressive push in onto the A site. We've seen this from this Temperate squad before, but this time around, they haven't been allowed to plant yet.
Oh, they will just about be able to get it down. The spam coming through. Low on HP. Josh finally going to fall. Spam works. Swinging in as well. Very careful. Halsey gonna find Stokey. That's an important kill. This retake now definitely got a spine to it. It's the 5 versus 3. Temperate in a post plant. Oh, great showstopper on as well. Should be the prime one. Actually won't. Pulled down just as 2. Oh, the strike on as well. But it's all the more difficult. Dutchy has to go huge in. Second, third as well. Dutchy. That's brilliant. Shefty one more. But Dutchy from the elevator angle with 30 points of HP keeps this flawless for Temperate. This is now looking dire for Gladius.
What is happening? The difference between map 1 and map 2. Temperate, like, all right, Gladius, we see your crazy second half don't drop a round run, and we raise you. And they've now managed to string 5 rounds together without dropping. Now, each of these rounds have been kept incredibly close. Generally speaking, only one player left alive, and well, that's gonna definitely have put a bit of a dampener on the econ.
Grenade!
That's safe to say. Calm with 4. Flash to come in as well. Look straight into the flash, but it's okay. Still numbers in the favour of Temperate. They're fighting over towards this BT. Only one person there to meet them too. D1 Pro got so much to do. This is going to be horrible to try and hold with just a Sheriff. Utilities flooding in. Do we find anything is the question? The answer is no. Dutchy deletes him. Just what he's fine. Good for the first. Looking to find one more as well. He will be tested momentarily. Flashback comes in. Mercedes P finds the trade with the Sheriff. That could be a rifle collected and saved. Or do they want to give this a go? I mean, risky to do so. Potentially saving my health, especially now that Halsey's off the cards. And yeah, he's long gone. Trying to save if he can. He is holding. Spamming away. Low on HP. Dig returned as well. 6 points of HP. Can he even save is the question, because surely they go hunting.
Do we go for the eco-res? That's the real question here.
Eco-res,
I mean,
yeah.
That's probably not the best play, but I mean, that's probably why he's holding this angle. 34 HP.
Please don't. Please don't.
Oh.
Swinging in. He's so confident. Maybe a little bit too overconfident as well. Try and keep on the way he got. I know he has economy to work with, but he will just about keep that saving across. That was
an expensive save.
Oh,
that was an expensive save because he uses the wall and one of the slow orbs to stay alive. I mean, the whole point of the save, you're not just saving your weapon. You want to go into the next round being able to spend as few credits as humanly possible. So he uses both of those abilities. He obviously lost all of his armor, so it's just the gun. Still a save, obviously, but definitely not as good as it could have been. Could have had a little bit more cash in the bank there, about 600 credits or so if my maths, my Sage knowledge isn't too terrible. So yeah, keeping things expensive to the very end here, this Temperate squad. We've now reached the point where they have secured themselves at least a tie at the half. If they win this round, they secure the lead. With 3 ultimates to play with here, it's looking good.
in comes the ult as well. Once again, running to the speed. They've been brilliant here before. Calm. Limited to just one. Josh is well going to find that trade, and that's all that they need to do now to guarantee them the side. The only thing that's the question is that one man in towards Market. He can hold and wait, try and deny a spike plant. I don't think he'll be given a chance to do so. Pencast has come forward. Damage dealt as well. Guiding light coming out. Jumping in towards Market. Pello go for one. Joshua Ford, can he make it a second? Yes, he can. Pello doubles down. Stokesy, tough one for him to say the least. The first.
Open up the sky!
Strike. That could help him out. He's still alive as well. Low on HP. Molly on the spike as well, but that's all to be limited towards. They will be able to get that defuse coming through. Just like that. Finally, Sam. Finally, the first round for Gladius.
Yeah, the Molly, I don't think it quite covered the entirety of the spike there. There was a good attempt at a post plant, but unfortunately gets pushed so far back, not able to run the clock down. And this was a very chaotic round, all things considered. There was another reasonably aggressive round from Temperate, which they have been very good at doing, but this is the first time that we see some serious patience from Gladius to give up a lot of that space and then to re-aggress. And they do so from varying angles, which means that they have so many of those angles covered. And yeah, Mercedes Peak, after not being able to save some of that util in the previous rounds, it starts to show up. Only a half armor available into this round. These small decisions, you don't necessarily think about how much of an impact it's going to have going forward, but unfortunately that's going to be him not quite up to the rest of the team.
Yeah, already turning. Running away forward. Blast back from Josh as well. Gets all the space, but it's Pro's running through. 4-5-1. Shifty trades. I think Pro, in fact, actually going to get the res online. How's he going to find one more? Shifty will trade him out, though. Limited to just that first. Pello, first time of asking, won't be able to deliver, and the Seeker's online as well. Flash will deny a bit of presence, but at the same time, Calm's giving away his position. Trying to stay alive, it's going to be so tough in a 3 versus 3. Jump it down as well, spotted out by Shifty. 2 players swinging, Flash will come through as well, avoid it first time of asking. From behind, Pro finds one, but only 4 points of HP. It has to be a headshot for Shifty. He's actually just going to fall away. Snakebite gives him some room to work with, and he might just about be able to make himself across, and he will. Shifting his way forward, in behind, Stokes, he falls, and now, of course, it's down to just one. Shifty has 4 points of HP.
30 seconds left.
Oh, no. Oh, God, you're really committing this. No.
Oh, no.
Oh, why?
Didn't expect it. Didn't expect that close. That commit on towards the Viper's pit, questionable.
Mostly because one of your teammates literally just died in their spawn, knowing that Mercedes was on his way over towards the site. Okay, maybe you're not expecting him to peek right at that exact second, but the Viper's pit starts from where you pop it. So pops the pit, then takes a few steps forward and doesn't have the cover. Oh, it was just... There was just so many unfortunate things that happened in that round. It was also so important that the teammate is able to get that flank online to create some space. I thought that he was just gonna wait, buy a little bit of time, and then let the flank come through over towards the B site and try and leverage off of that. But he starts rotating. They know that he's rotating, and it just gives the game away. Oh no.
Stop that. Actually doesn't find the kill. It's Pello for a double. Worst timing for the iPad on that one. As he drops, but Calm for double down. Showstopper comes and once again not finding 2. Might be down to 1 versus 3 now. Seeker's coming out. They know exactly where he is. Stempy tucked in towards the close position in long. He can struggle to find anything. Trailblazer in his face. A Pro will limit things just there. 3 rounds on the board. Gladius making an attempt out of this.
Oh, are we really going to see the 6-6 half again?
Imagine.
Is this what's happening? Wouldn't it be crazy if Gladius just go on and have an attacking half where they don't drop a single round again?
1 enemy remaining.
I think Temperate would be really kicking themselves at that point. But you gotta give props where it's due. They took that tack time out, and okay, it took a couple of rounds for it to really start taking effect, but they're starting to mount that comeback, and it's really important. I think, once that the enemy team gets to 6 rounds and you start to realize, oh no, our chances of having a lead are like gone. You start to kind of, pick things up a little bit there. However, Mercedes peak offline, not great of a start.
Not at all. Stokesy find himself 1. Of course, T1 Pro Stokes offers us this close corner. If he aggresses, though, he's going to be in for a real troublesome time. He's waiting for the smokes to dissipate, and he's buying time for the rotation to come through, but even still, Numbers looking very favourable. So I say that's one. Bringing them level. Grading towards U-Haul as well. At least 5 a little bit more time. Still, it's going to be a tough read to try and find anything. He's very reliant on this flank finding a bit of success. And Stempy needs to be cautious. Pro's found himself a third, though.
Player standing.
And of course, Pello gets a freebie as Stempy walks right into him, shifting a post plant. Good for the first. Looking for just one more win, but the final answer is no. Pello will be able to find this one in his
Last player
favor.
standing.
Calm will fall, so no rares coming through in that case, but it does not matter either way. Up to 4 Gladius, and that is a really, really nice retake from them. It's expensive, but they find it all the same.
Yeah, I mean, this was a weird round from Temperate as well. Or rather from Gladius themselves, because look how much space they give up at the start of the round, and then Stokesy and friends are able to just walk up mid and get a kill onto a player who's not looking in that direction because there's no one on Gladius's team who's covering that angle. And despite the fact that his teammate dies, he still doesn't check that there's someone there. I mean, it was a very, very wonky. So for them to be able to come back, pretty impressive. And so they continue along with a little bit of a streak here. Now, all ultimates are offline except for one orbital strike available for Temperate. And we saw how they tried to use that in a post-plant scenario. Didn't quite get the value. What is this aggression?
Oh, Stokesy. That's brilliant. Stim comes down and he's running and gunning. You love to see it. I mean, if aim broke, don't fix it, right? Make it work. Ray's come forward. Calm. Testing those waters. Needs to be cautious. Josh, you got a bit of space out towards side. Calm. Only good for one impact. Hello, though, steps up. Makes it a second. Dutchy will fall. Now, numbers back in favor. Rifle collected by Stempy, but he has a lot of work to do. An orbital strike. Still ready and waiting. And in a post-plant scenario, as you mentioned, Sam, very, very good. But, of course, they need to get the plant first.
And 2 versus 3, it's definitely doable. Mercedes peaks on a little bit of a wild flank. Oh, that bird did nothing. And yet...
One enemy remaining.
Oh, no. Pello overextends too. Seek is coming forward. They know where the last is. And Mercedes peak is right on the other side. It's a foot race. Back over towards A, and one in which that Temperate will win.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, Mercedes peak got...
No. 20 seconds as well. Slow orbs come through. Guarding lights will come out, but it doesn't matter.
Is so good.
One time, and he'll find it.
The slow is so good.
That is genius. What a round from him. Okay, the first kill is what it is.
Last
fantastic,
round
but it's
before the
how he
switch.
played that 1 versus 1. Denying the spike was a priority because he knew time was a pressure.
And you know, throwing down that slow orb is going to deny the possibility of getting the plant in a good position. So either you go for the plant and you can't escape, because you know you can try and fake and then run away and try and survive and duke it out. But because the slow orb's in place, you can't get away as quickly like that as you would have wanted to. I mean, this... I said that maybe the reason they stuck him on stage jail was because, like, he can't play Raze, so, like, what else do you do with him? But fair play to him. That was some really, really smart util usage. Clutches out a very important round to keep the streak going for Gladius. And now, last round in the half, and still just that one orbital strike available for Temperate.
That's it. We said, oh, we're going to get an even half, and potentially we might get it. I mean, who would have thought? Swinging in. Josh towards market. Time being in Hookah, can be left alone there. Flash will come out towards long. Calm can play nice and aggro off it. She spots Stokesy Nate coming out, trying to invite a peek, and he'll get it. Calm is an animal. I've been so impressed with him. And he finds yet one more. Smoking towards Hookah as well denies a lot of this pressure. Yeah, nades will come forward. Hello on towards side though. What can he find? Nothing. That's brutal. What a piece though for Dutchy and Josh. Gives them now this B side, and the spikes go down momentarily.
Planted. Welcome to my world.
Might just been online as well. Surely denies a lot of pressure. Dutchy yet one more. Mercedes peak falls. I think this one is already being chalked down to be. That's 7-5 on the board. Ultra pots. That's more or less confirming things now. Halsey's going to struggle to find anything here. Good for the first, in fact. And that denies that Viper's pit. But one more, but it's shifting the trade. P1 Pro has to go huge. Finding himself one. He's one towards elbow, one towards long. And what can he find? Spike is so far ticked. Even finding anything is going to be tough here. Playing anti. Nate in his face denies all of that pressure. He is limited to nothing. Can't even get to his half, it seems. Got him out of the corner. Wohnny Wepp find the kill. Stempy makes it a 7-5 half in favor of Temperate.
Last player standing.
You know what? We were looking for the
Switching
potential
sides.
6-6, and it gets denied at the very last hurdle. And this was important for Temperate again because, well, they've had a bit of a rough showing, particularly on map 1. Now, bearing in mind, map 1 went 13-6, and Gladius did not drop a round on the second half. This is where things are going to get very, very spicy. There's a lot of expectation here. And of course, with this being Temperate's map pick, they want to come up as huge as possible. So we'll see if they are able to do so. Their defensive half was the slightly stronger on the previous map as well of the two. No, it wasn't. It was their attacking half. Now this bode's even more scary. Like, I find myself kind of rooting for them a little bit. You know, I do love a bit of an underdog story, and what makes it so funny is we came into this thinking that they were the favorites in this matchup.
That's it. That's exactly it. 7-5. This pistol round for me means more or less everything, though. I mean, when you kind of consider that how good both sides at times have been on pistol rounds, you see kind of the very aggressive nature of Temperate, but they won't really want to do that on the defender side. Gladius has been quite methodical, and it's worked quite nicely for them. If we start to see them find that form again, and we know how good they were on attacking side too, right? So that was their strong side on Breeze. Who knows? Potentially it could be they're generally one of those sides who are really good on attacking and, you know, a little bit lackluster on defense.
Yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate when that is the case, because obviously, as we know, you know, a top team needs to really be able to do both at a pretty damn good level. So hopefully that isn't the case here, where one particular half is the stronger side for either of these two teams. But of course, the ultimate test is going to come through. Sorry guys, as you can see, there is a little bit of a pause here, but we've just jumped back into the timer. I imagine it was a little bit of a tech issue, much like we had at the start of the series. You know, we're keeping up with the Valorant traditions. We need to have tech pauses, otherwise it's just not Valorant.
Exactly. Of course, now aggression coming through. Dutchy for the first. Temperate to find 8 and to continue this lead. That is a really good start. Aggression down mid is good as well, because it gives them all the information that they need for the time being. They can now play a nice passive approach, play for the numbers, doubling back over towards the A site. The rotation coming forward from Temperate.
Careful.
You spot Sui first. Slowly make their way forward. They've got short control. Guiding lights giving them a little bit of room to work with as well. A wall as well. Somewhat security as that troll bait can come through. Concussion in as well. Shifty gonna take a step away. Mercedes peeking to find one, but only Shifty denying. What more can he find? Calm is also going to cause problems, but it's actually Halsey for 3. Flash over. Dutchy has to go huge, and he can't. Calm will clean things up, but that's all down to one man. Halsey with a 3K.
Well, Gladius, good start, all things considered. They didn't win the first pistol on this map, but they'll go ahead and they'll win the second one. Attacking pistols, it do be like that sometimes. And now they get to force up a little bit here. Oh, I was curious there. Mercedes was like hovering over just the classic for a little bit. I thought maybe we're gonna edge into something bigger and beefier for round 3. You know, maybe that hero rifle that we're so fond of. But no, gonna be sticking it out with the very, very simple, usual force up. I want to see if something comes out of this shorty.
Oh, that's it. Josh is going to tuck himself in close. Surely not. Does he find anything is the question. That close left angle. Pello, if you overextend, brother, you don't want to go there. Don't do it. Oh,
Spike down
you hate
A.
to see it. Pello walks straight towards Josh. 3v4. And Pro going to find one more, though. Halsey will pick himself up at a different Spectre, as he's going to get that spike planted. Now, numbers brought level. Calm. Making their firepower look all the more different. Flash over in the corner as well. Shift trying to find some space. Walk straight in towards Pro. Looking for 2. Nade will come out as well. Needs to be cautious of close. Does not matter. He passes. Up to 3. Can he find 4? It's just MP. People coming as well. They know exactly where he is. Guarding light on the corner. Does not matter as T1 Pro makes it a 4K. And this game tied all square once again.
Oh, I'm having Vietnam flashbacks now. Oh, dearie, dearie me. Let's see if it continues along, because that was expensive. Isn't really a word to use in one of these forced rounds, but they do lose a couple of players, which means that they are going to come into the next round with pistols alongside those SMGs, unless they go for like the very 50-50 kind of double-edged sword play of forcing up. Nah. So there you go. It's just going to be the sheriffs alongside the SMGs, but it's into rifles. Now, we have actually seen it was Temperate, in fact, I believe, who came out on top despite being on a lower buy, so it's definitely doable.
We've seen these lower buys work before. It's, you know, not the end of the world. Again, a simple take on the Sui Generis. It's just that classic default back over towards A, but it's worked with them before, and as I said earlier, you know, A bro, don't fix it. Pro's gonna hold in closer personal, just a sheriff from Mercedes peak, but still yet to get that spike down. And the question is this buying time for rotation? It is. Look, they've baited out 3 players and rotate. The bomb, the spike is still making its way over towards A. It's shifting. Now doing a tough job here. Good for one. Can't quite transfer to the second. Halsey will be able to get that spike down. And they're running all the way back. Temperate, they have made this so difficult for themselves walking towards Pello. Good for the first. If they go in towards them as well, the 3D comes through, but no. Overextends. Pello makes it a second though. His sheriff causing issues. Even if this goes in the way of Temperate, they made it expensive. Dutchy one more of his own.
No charges.
Into a 2 versus 2. Time is ticking though. They have to get their way on towards the site. In towards U-Haul they go. Pello
One enemy
spike as well.
remaining.
Swinging on towards Dutchy. You'll find one more. Calm to deny. Can he is the question. At the very least, so is Yuta will deny that spike being triggered for just a little bit, but as Dutchy's making a 3k, he individually wins that round for Temperate because that was looking dicey.
But let's take a moment to appreciate how expensive this was. It's a word we love to throw around, but that was that first full buy for Temperate. And again, it's not going to have effects into the next round. It should
enemy
still
remaining.
be a rifle round. But it will have long-term repercussions in that they might have a little bit of a more wonky economy. Ooh, I say that it shouldn't affect them, but poor Stokesy is still down on an SMG. This heavily favors Gladius because they're on full rifles, and of course on top of that they've got some Seekers available, which can be absolutely potent. This is a bit of a worrying round for Temperate, despite having just won the previous.
That's it. I'm already slightly concerned. You know, this game can be tied up momentarily once again. Back over towards Long. Bit of pressure here for the time being.
I've got your trail.
Smokes to come forward as well, but the Seeker's being popped early doors. A wall as well can make it all the more uncomfortable. An elevated angle from Mercedes peak as well, and he knows that. At least the early part of sight is clear. In towards Luca, they're slightly cautious, but no one there to meet them for the time being. His elbow, they have to be cautious of. Stokesy trying to get a couple of pop shots, not going to find too much. It's a really nice execution from Gladius. Postbone looking very good as well, but the concussion will come out to that. Railblaze causing a couple of issues. Pressure in. With Mercedes speaks for the first. Josh will fall. Then denies that presence, denies that rotate too. It's all looking very good here now for Gladius. As it down to just 2 more bodies to find. Dutchy and a masterclass of the previous. Has to go again and can't. Pro will trade him out and he makes it a second 2. 8-all with title square.
I was a little concerned about how that round was going to go because Temperate had full control of the back of side, they had full control of elbow, and usually when you have that control, it's much easier to leverage it into a retake. I say easier, that doesn't mean it's a given. And this is really, really well executed from Gladius. They hold strong in their angles. They know the Temperate have to push out because the spike's being planted. They have to come out, they have to try and go for the defuse. They hold strong on their angles, and well, they win their duels. And sometimes that's the most important part of the round. Evened up once again. Gladius not going to have that same solid streak of not dropping a single map in the second half that we saw previously, but they're at least bringing themselves back into it, and they've forced Temperate onto a save again.
Calm though, nice shot. Really nice shot from him. Still trying to make his way forward. Has got the stim online. On top of his feet though, not exactly the nicest of greetings. He's tagged down, that's a sound Q gain too. Whoever swings first will probably pay the price. And to be honest, they don't even need to. Low buy being punished, left, right, and centre. The Temperate swinging around with the... Still not going to find too much on the flash. Dutchy will find himself one, but that's all that they will find. 4 remaining alive. It's the 9. Sam, I gotta say, I'm getting a little bit concerned now.
Yeah, Temperate, I mean, they kind of needed this. Obviously, if they lose this round, they are out. Well, same round, map. They're out.
Yes.
They're completely out. No double elim, no lower bracket. End of the run, at least for this tournament. And they had such a strong start to the map, but Gladius, they've just looked so good. So precise, so coordinated. Temper just don't seem to have an answer. Now, they do have Viper's Pit online. I thought maybe they drop it in hookah, but no, they opt instead to hold on to it. I suppose, there we go, dropping it directly onto the site once they've realized that there is a bit of a push coming in towards the B site. That's going to force the rotation over, but look at this aggression out of A. This could catch Gladius off guard.
Prepare for hellfire!
Strike online. Hang on a second. Mercedes P got full. Calm gonna find one of those. His close angle top to the clear. Good flash though, and Calm, that's a nice double. The nades drop him out. He's traded. Halsey as well on towards 7 points of HP. He's extremely cautious. An early use of the orbital strike though is a slight question mark, but so far, also slow. Couple of pop shots through the smoke, not gonna find too much. Low HP is the biggest issue now for the likes of Gladius.
Take TP. Take TP.
Go on.
I dare you. I double dare you. Take TP.
I'd be tempted to. There we go. Yes! And now look over towards B. Looking a little bit dicey. Only one man to meet them, and that could be all that she wrote. Dutch has to go huge. She's lost the first. And the second as well. Spike dropped. Knifing towards Ook as well. With Halsey 7 points of HP, I think this one might be done. He spotted that one crossing. Tried to find a head, but that's asking so much of him. He's got so low HP, and they won't be able to find a thing. Dutchy again stepped up huge to keep Temper in this conversation. He single-handedly has been one of the most driving factors.
All right, teams, do not hire me as an analyst because I don't care about who wins. I care about what's entertaining, and that was entertaining.
One enemy remaining.
So you questioned the orbital strike, and I do understand. So us with our cast division, we see this aggressive push out of A, and we're like, oh, that's not going to work. Because the idea behind the orbital strike is to clear lamp so that you can push up main and gain control. But they don't realize that there's two players that have already pushed up and are going to block their push in. Looks like a wasted ult, and to an extent, it was a good idea, but the execution was, stopped in its tracks.
Already aggressive though, speaking of. Pro and Calm, please. Say, all of us trying to get a supposed bar set up. Stempy just caught in towards bathroom. Doesn't expect Hello in behind. He's been lurking and flanking so many times that each and every time he gets away with it, it's down to just 2. Ball as well. That's unfortunate. Hello didn't quite read that one. Trade up through either way. It's down to just 1 man. Stokesy has to go huge here, and this will require something special versus 4. Not even able to find a thing. Team Ace coming in as it's up to 10 for Gladius. They are 3 rounds away from taking the match in series.
It really is heartbreaking for Temperance. I mean, especially given the previous round, and they come into this one, and Gladius just kind of smack them around a little bit again because they don't have the element of surprise. You have to remember, 2 rounds back, they had Viper's Pit online, which was what forced the rotation, but having the Viper's Pit, they drew them towards the B site, which gave the time for Temper to push out into that aggressive position. So they're kind of relying on trying to disrupt tempo with a lot of their ultimates, and when they don't have those online to create that little bit of disruption, things start to go awry.
Oh, Dutchy, gonna find 2. Took a little bit of work. What he finds nonetheless is a beautiful flash though. Really nice flashing towards long, and this could be the round to tie things back up once again. As I've said time and time again, Dutchy so far seems to be, for me, single-handedly keeping them in this. Tooth and nail, he's clawing on that finish line.
Kill my ally.
Red's gonna come out of line though. Pello back in the conversation. Now, what's the decision here? Still the numbers favour Temperate. Looks like they want to still commit over towards the B side. 3 players here as well for the defender side. Could make things all the more uncomfortable trying to find a way back in, but Khan might buy a little bit of timing as he might be able to find, if he can find Stokesy here, this could be a bit of wanting him out, finding the kill, that's important. What more can he find? Dutchy's close to Purtle, does he clear it? It's the question. I don't think he will. He won't. Dutchy 3, 4, and he'll find it, of course he does. On for the ace as well, technically speaking, it could even make his 6, as Dutchy has been a weapon in this round. And he will find all 5. Shifty gets 1 as well for a 6 for Therese.
The timing on that though, both of those players died at the exact same time. It was a 1, 2, 3 swing click and 2 players died. Fantastic. Dutchy, yeah, I mean, has been so important for the squad. Okay, that round, some of those missed shots were a little unfortunate. But
30 seconds left.
because he's manages to get the flash to connect, it means that he can get those shots, and it's not too stressful because a flashed out player, yeah, sometimes they'll be able to adequately predict where you are, how far you've swung, and get the shot on you, but not able to make that happen. So in another thrifty round, somehow, we have Temperate coming out on top. It's going to be Gladius now, who's starting to feel the pressure a little bit. I mean, 12-6 first map. You come into the second, and it's just neck and neck the whole way through. And they don't want to go to map 3. It's been a long day. They want to close this out.
Dude, spam comes through the wall. Showstopper. Hang on a second. Not going to find too much, though. The idea was like, is the execution not quite there? Back over to his bathrooms, Josh focuses his attention. He wanted to come forward, wall in space, well, not exactly what he was looking for. We'll spam it down and give himself a gap to work with. Trying to get that spike down, the orbital strike comes out, and it forces Carlton straight in towards Shifty. That's a freebie. That's really good teamwork coming in. Now, of course, Freddy Speaker has got an angle to work with, and he doesn't want to overextend. There's 2 players to his right. He's bottom first. What more can he find? Nothing. Just through Trade. Trade's got lore as well. An orbital strike is return, but not too much use. Forces an opening engagement here between 1 versus 2. Dutchy, he's been monumental thus far, and he's looking for more, but full blind. Pella will come alive. 11-10. They take a 1-round lead, and they're getting oh so close to this series.
Some of those kills feel lucky. I'm going to say it. I mean, the orbital strike manages to nag the Viper that's running away into spawn. The flash comes out, and I spoke a little bit about it. Sometimes a player can get flashed out and still accurately predict where the encroaching player is, and then we literally see it happen in the next round as the same player, Dutchy, tries to get the flash and swing, but gets predicted. I mean, this... Good attempt. I don't think it was around that Gladius had a right to go. Oh, no, that missed it.
Shifty gonna fall. This is getting concerning now. Already numbers looking very good in favour of Gladius, and they're gonna add even one more as Stempy goes 6 feet under. Just 2 remaining alive. The wall come in to give them that security and a plant, and say these people guarantee it going down. 5 versus 2. There is an ult for Temperate to work with. I just don't think it's worth popping at this sort of time. Wait for at least a kind of a full buy and a full time to make it work. Double flashes come through to try and make it out. Actually, will find a bit of space. Swing coming in. Oh, bro. One apiece. Teammates, and of course, a flawless round for them too. Gladius up to 12. Sam, map and series points.
That was somewhat predicted, I think. You know, you see this really, really aggressive round. Oh man, why do you have to do him like that? Oh, our production crew is toxic. We come into this round, the previous round, and Temperate don't have any cash. And we see a very, very aggressive push from Gladius. They just completely run them over. But now, as we're on match point, Temperate only have the null command to work with. Okay, Gladius don't have any ultimates, but they've been on a tear, and they've taken Josh off the board. That could be it.
It might be, potentially. That could be it. Viper's pick gonna come out online, though. 4 versus 4. How do they want to play this is the question. Pello nice and aggressive. He's hunting for a bit of info. Not going to spot out too much for the time being. Tucking himself in a corner. Just playing outside of his own Viper spit as well. Into that back corner. It's all about having the plant as well being tested. Just a tap. Again, Mercedes just tapping it. This time going to commit 2. Behind the wall, got some room to work with. Stokes, he's going to find 1. But traded immediately. Now they can play post plan. Yeah, there's a Viper's pit online. Dutch has to go huge it. We'll find T1 Pro. Numbers in their favour, and still that Viper's pit in play as well. This is looking really good for them. It's just down to Mercedes Pete with an eye. They've already find the damage they're looking for. Dutchy will fall. There's a corner in it. Trying to tap. Trying to find the fuse. Oh my god, he'll find it. Mercedes Pete, no. It's all down to 1. The res online as well. They can play the numbers game. Taps the defuse, bringing it in as well. Look at the first. Oh, it comes through T1 Pro with the showstopper. That is stunning. 13-10, 2-0 the series. Gladius Valorant go to the next stage, and it's commiserations to Temperate. What a insane way for it to end.
The best part of that is that could have completely backfired. That could have just been awful way to end the round and just give it over to the enemy team. But phenomenal stuff there. The satchel pack to keep you bounding, to keep the enemy guessing, the showstopper to connect so perfectly. Wow, what a performance. Unfortunately, Temperate, team that we had as one of our stronger teams coming into this tournament, don't make it into those quarterfinals. Gladius, Valorant, a team that we didn't know terribly much about. We recognized a few of those names, you know, Mike, Cam, Mercedes, Peak, but for the most part, it was who? And I love being proven. Maybe not proven wrong. That's not that I thought they couldn't do it, but just being shown what a player can do, right? You may not know who I am. Today, I'm going to show you. And I've learned. And I'm not going to forget these names. So when I see them again, I'm going to have a lot to say about them.
Nice that. I mean, I got to say, I'm really impressed. And what we did see from them is like they have got a really phenomenal attacking side. Both maps, it was their attacking side that was actually the real shining light for them. It's unfortunate, Temperate. It's commiserations, Temperate, because we saw some great Valorant from them. It just really wasn't... it just wasn't there when they needed to be. They tried to step up at times, and they needed a bit of individual brilliance, and they had it. I mean, I want to highlight one individual, especially in that final map as well, Dutchy. I think he was phenomenal. He was really someone who, for me, stepped up massively. I just think he was one of the only players at times stepping up. He required so many instances of Dutchy finding kind of 1 versus 2s, 1 versus 3s for them to kind of claw themselves to success. And he did a fantastic job of it. It's just unfortunate that he couldn't take it all the way. But for me, Dutchy was up there, one of the best. Mercedes Peak in a fantastic series as well. Really good from him. Of course, he's the duelist. It's very easy to highlight a duelist, but I think he was quite smart as well. And of course, when he went towards Sage, no longer the duelist, played that kind of battle Sage, but really worked. I'm really impressed. We'll take a look at the MVP stats momentarily as well, as we can kind of get a delve into the best heading in towards that of map number 2. And of course, it was Mike. 23 kills, 17 deaths, 4 assists, and 276 ACS. Not too shabby.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, is that over the course of the both maps, I'm assuming? Yeah, that would make the most sense. Really solid stuff there. Just, you know, maintaining a top performance as much as humanly possible. No, it is just this map. I'm just dumb. Fair enough. You know what? It does happen sometimes. Yeah, just that consistent performance. We spoke about how important it is. And of course, to round things out towards the end there with that beautiful showstopper, just to kind of put a point on what was a fantastic evening for this team. We said, you know, they didn't want to take it to map 3. They probably want to head to bed. It's another long day tomorrow again. But, you know, I feel like it's important to just maybe highlight which teams, very briefly. We don't have a graphic for this, but we do know some of the teams that we're going to be seeing tomorrow. We got OnlyFins. Some of you may have seen them in Polaris recently. I know they were a big favorite of MPs, so unsurprising to see them coming through here. We got the Dogsters. This is, again, one of those kind of, I suppose, underdog teams that we don't know terribly much about. Obviously, we've got Gladius coming in. They're going to be playing against AW3, and there's a few more results that we're still waiting for. But if you're looking for one of your teams to see if they've made it through, you can go ahead and check out the bracket to see if they have actually made it through. Very exciting first day. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow.
So am I. And of course, it is towards tomorrow's action that we focus our attention. But for today, we're done and dusted. So, day 1 of Beacon here at the Goose House, and it's been a very good day all the same. 2 fantastic best of 3s. Sam, I thank you for joining me as per usual. Thank you for the lovely production team. Couple errors at the start, but we fixed it, and that's what matters. Some beautiful Valorant on your screens. Thank you for your amazing people at home. And well, for today, we will sign out. We'll come back tomorrow, same time, same place, for some more brilliant Beacon action. See you tomorrow.
is right, I'm scared to death. Scared of your